Hello, everyone. I'm the person who made the page. Okay, so we have a Michael Jordan fan who wants to go on. He's from YouTube. He goes by the YouTube username of Sopa71479. He has Michael Jordan as number one, and he would like to explain why Michael Jordan is number one. So let me put him on. Hey, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. You're very welcome. Okay, so you have Michael Jordan as number one. Feel free to explain if you like.
Well, when I do my own personal list of gauging all-time best players, so I try to gauge as far much as their career as I possibly can, as far as from a number standpoint, their accolades, as well overall impact on game as well. And as far as from a number standpoint, as far as from an accolades standpoint, as well as an impact standpoint, in my opinion, Jordan does stand above all, in my opinion. We're talking about a 14-time All-Star, a 10-time scoring champion, 3-time steals champion, 9-time all-defensive first-team player.
Okay, so
Player of the year.
it looks like it's going to be another one of those resume things. So what you're doing is what a lot of Jordan fans do. You go down the list of things that he did in his career, and I know you're not assuming this, but it's coming off, which is what a lot of Jordan fans do, where as if he's the only guy who has a resume, or his resume is the number one golden resume. That thing where you go down the list of what he did, you can do for lots of stars. And when you say it's your opinion that he's number one, it's not an opinion. You're claiming he's number one. There's no way you're going to be able to prove Jordan is number one, especially on those things.
Well, that's just the opening part to cover. As I said, I look at both a number standpoint, impacting game, and his accolades from the game as well. So once again, this is just like the tip portion. We're talking about a guy who has the highest scoring average in the history of the game from a regular season standpoint and from a playoff standpoint. He's the number two guy.
Wait, what was that? The highest regular season average?
Points per game average, yes.
No, that's not true.
He beats out Wilt by about 300ths of a point.
Okay, you're talking about career average, not for a season.
Yeah, I'm talking about for a career, yes.
Okay, so for a career, he doesn't even average 1 point more than Wilt, and you're going to give that to him? It's basically a tie. It's just a mathematical thing.
Well, you're looking at it from a mathematical thing, but at the same time, if you're looking at mathematical stance and you want to bring up the name of Wilt actually from the regular season, his numbers went down by comparison for his career-wise, went down when he played in the playoffs as well as went down in the finals as well.
His standards were so high, so he shouldn't even have scored all those points because people like you would hold it against him. So the guy scores 50 points and goes down to 37, and you go his points went down.
Well, it's one thing you can say for one season, but we're talking about for a career, from a 30 points per game guy down to a 22 points per game for a career. And then when you're looking at his finals for a career, not from one season, but we're talking about for a career, it goes from 30 in the regular season to 22 for the playoffs and an 18 for the finals. And I'm not talking about a single season. I'm talking about for a career.
Okay.
Jordan was able to maintain a consistency of 30 points per game for his career, regular season, 33 points per game, playoffs, for a career, consistency, 33 points per game in the finals, once again, career, consistency.
No, I got you. So lots of players have career consistencies, and some players have more luxury to do that because they have a better team to go in the playoffs in the first place. Why do you elevate Jordan? Why not the other stars?
The reason why I would elevate Jordan is because, okay, and I want to use a Kareem comparison because, in my opinion, Kareem is the second greatest player of all time as far as NBA players. Mind you, when I want to talk about greatest players, I want to make it clear we're talking about NBA career. We're talking about.
Well, I got to know about that too now. Whatever your criteria is for Jordan being number one, how does that criteria equal Kareem number two? It should be someone else similar to Jordan.
It's very similar to Jordan, but the big difference is, okay, you were mentioning about having the right team around him or having a better team. Kareem was struggling when he had guys like Jamal Wilkes. He had Bob McAdoo. And he had Adrian Dantley. He was putting up great numbers, but he wasn't winning when he had that Hall of Fame team.
Well, I don't understand if he's putting up good numbers. How is he struggling?
You can put up good numbers individually, but if ultimately in a team sport, in a team sport league,
right,
he wasn't getting the job done.
What is that? What does that?
Considering he had the fact of those four, he had 3 Hall of Famers that were in their prime for the most part.
No, but this doesn't make any sense, because if you're saying he's putting up good numbers, then you know he's not struggling. He's doing what he's supposed to do. And then you say it's not an individual game, it's a team game. I don't have your exact words, exact quote, but that was basically your point, stuff like that. So you know one guy doesn't do it, but then you jump ship and go, he's struggling. He had these many guys. He basically didn't get the job done, and you elevate Michael Jordan.
Okay, because Jordan was able to play well in the playoffs and the regular season with less talent around him. And this is what I mean. And this is what I mean by that. Okay. And once again, I'm going with Kareem. Okay. You just heard the names that I just named out: McAdoo, Wilkes, Adrian Dantley. 2 great players. Adrian Dantley, you can argue, is one of the best scorers of his era. Would you agree with that?
Sure.
Okay. Was a young Scottie Pippen or Orlando Woolridge or a Charles Oakley anywhere near the realm of those guys?
Okay, but there's a hole. I know where this is going. So there's a hole in this argument too. In order to understand this, you have to find some kind of strange formula where you evaluate every team in the history of the NBA and go, this one counts as a Hall of Famer, a class level A player, level B, whatever ratings you want to do, and go, okay, now this guy had the most talent and this guy had the less talent. Don't tell me you did that for every team and every star and every teammate and then concluded Jordan is number 1.
He maximized the most of what he had around him.
Yeah, no, I'm saying.
Horace Grant, a phenomenal role player, a great role player, one of the better offensive rebounders, but he's just a one-time All-Star. He's a career best.
Well, no, I don't understand that. No, I don't understand.
10 guy.
Why is the All-Star? Why is that a criteria? Do the best players go to the All-Star game? Do they always get the best of the best?
No, you're absolutely correct. But this is where Jordan was able to maximize the most. This was a guy who was the starting power forward on his team,
right?
And he was able to maximize the most that he was.
No, but that's your way of putting it.
For his role.
No, you're saying he maximized the most. What did Jordan do differently from every other star who had a team? If a team scores 100 points and Jordan scores 29 and shoots 50% and gets 2 or 3 steals and gets a block, what is he doing differently from every other star? You Jordan fans just assume that A, Jordan had some least level amount of talent compared to everyone else, and then B, Jordan magically maximized it the most. It's not that Jordan didn't maximize it. I'm not saying that, but there is no way for you to know for sure who has what level of talent and who maximizes the most at that point, you know?
Well, when Grant came into the team, he was a high draft pick, as well as Scottie Pippen. They had to go through growing pains, something that's very difficult to do from when you're talking about playing in any professional sport, going through growing pains and getting better to gel together as a team. One of the key things that Jordan had to do, because this is one thing that I will tell you this right now, as phenomenal as a talent as he was in his younger years, Jordan was not the best leader. It wasn't something you could say that he played. You could say he trained hard, he played hard, but he wasn't being a true leader of his team.
Okay.
As far as you could say your best player. If there's sort of a trickle down theory where basically if your best player isn't playing hard, that nobody else will play hard. Well, the same thing can be said. Your best player can still train hard and play hard during practice, but not everybody is going to fall in line with it. That's just not how everybody.
So I want to make sure I understand. So for all those years, according to you, he's not the best leader, and then of course we know of a team's loss. So if that's happening all those years, why am I going to ignore all those years and then rank Jordan number 1? What about the other players who were younger than him, like Magic Johnson, and were better leaders and won at that point? I'm not saying one guy wins, but if you're going to go by this logic about what elevates a player and you question Jordan, then flip it around. Magic was younger. Magic did lead the way. He made his teammates better, and they won. So shouldn't Magic be ranked higher than Jordan?
He wouldn't be, and this is where the individual. This is once again, I look at everything. Was Magic the defender Jordan was?
Say it again. Was Magic
the defender that Jordan was?
Okay, but is that the only part of basketball?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But once again, I'm telling you, I look at everything from a totality. As far as passing, obviously Magic is better. As far as leadership, Magic had a better leadership probably at a younger age, but he also came into a team with already an established leader, with an established legend, with Kareem.
But look at what you're doing. This is actually a typical thing that Jordan fans do all the time. You move the goalpost when something goes against Jordan.
It's not the goalpost. I'm answering the question directly.
No, but I'm telling you, and I'm following up. I'm showing you how you're moving the goalpost. When something goes against Jordan, there's always a but. Well, they were growing. They didn't have the same team. He wasn't a good leader, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then when another star doesn't have those things, you don't say the same things for those other stars. But then if you disagree with me, if you say, no, I do, I say the same thing for other stars, well, now flip it around. When Jordan does win and he does do well, you elevate Jordan, but you don't elevate the other stars. You elevate Jordan higher, but then you go, Magic had a better team or a better leader with him.
We'll put it to you like this. Was Magic the better defender than Jordan?
Again,
no.
you go back to that, and I've said that. Is that the only part of basketball?
No, I'm going back to answer your question. Was he the better defender than Jordan?
Okay,
no. Was he the better scorer than Jordan? No. Okay. Was he the better passer than Michael?
Yeah,
absolutely.
There's a problem with this.
There's a rebounder. Absolutely.
No, there's a problem with this. If you're going to go like that and go, let's go over each category. There's two problems with this. One, I do not believe that you have analyzed every category for every star who was ever in the NBA. And if you did, because you can go by statistics, you can do that with statistics, then don't tell me Jordan is number one. Wilt Chamberlain has better numbers. Kareem has better numbers. Magic has overall better numbers. And there's lots of players who have just as good or better numbers than Jordan.
You can do that from looking at a paper's point of view, but at the same time, looking at, okay, if you're looking at like better numbers and what? You have a couple players who have better numbers as far as rebounding, assists. In a lot of cases, Jordan has as many assists as far as career assists as like a Kareem, or he has fewer than Kareem only because he hasn't played as many games.
But as you said, there's total numbers.
Allow me to continue, please. We're talking about Jordan being a better defender. He has way better skills than either of those guys. Obviously,
I know, but you're just
and the better shot blocker than most guys as well.
No, but you're
it's not cherry picking. We're talking about the five major statistical categories are
the five major statistical categories. How do you know these are the five ones?
The five major ones that everybody likes to look at. If you look at the
everybody
score,
is not always right. Everyone's not always right.
It's points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game, steals per game, and blocks per game.
Those are the five
for
ones.
For a guard, Jordan is one of, if not the best shot blocking guard.
Before you continue, I don't understand why those are the five. Because everyone likes those? Have you polled everyone? I don't understand. How do you know those are the five?
When you look at the box scores, those are the first five ones that majorly pop up.
No,
for the longest time, obviously, blocks and steals were not recorded, obviously, but rebounds and assists and points are the three majors that have been around since the league was
and there's also field goal percentage. There's also minutes played. There's also games played. There's also free throw percentage. And as you mentioned, blocks and steals. But what you've done is what many Jordan fans do. You just come to these conclusions like it's factual when you're just making things up. The five.
Not making it up if the numbers back it up.
No, your five that you're saying, these are the main five. This is a game, as you said, a team game.
I said the five major. I didn't say the main five. The five major ones. If we're talking about minutes per game, obviously, Wilt from a numbers perspective is, if we're talking about straight stats, Wilt would be the greatest player of all time.
Okay, but...
Bar none.
But
part of the game. Unfortunately, this is a team game. You got to look at the accolades. He still has the greatest records of all time, you have to factor in one thing that is kind of like the elephant in the room for a lot of people, and that's the team
Only
success.
for Jordan. No, only for Jordan fans. It's accolades and team.
Not for Jordan fans. That's for everybody. If we're talking about NFL football, every lot of people will jump to the conclusion and say Tom Brady.
We're not talking about NFL football.
No, we're not. No, we're not. But the thing is, isn't one of the main gauges for any team sport? Any team sport is the success of the team to go along with the individual accolades.
Well, there's two questions there. Is the main thing the team's success? Yes, but we're not debating teams and teams. You're isolating players separate from the teams and then mixing it in with teams, and that's called finding selective ways to elevate Jordan. If you went by team success, no problem.
The same can be said about any all-time great.
Right, I agree with you. It can be the same thing.
The same can be done. The same can be done for any all-time great.
Yes,
but when you all try to measure it that way, you are going to find flaws in it, sir.
I agree with you. So what you do, I'm not disputing that. So what you do is you have to do two things. Either acknowledge that there's flaws in pretty much every way you're going to find to rank players and don't rank them, or if you're going to say, no, it's Jordan, you got to be able to prove it, and so far you haven't proven it.
Actually, I have proven it. You just haven't heard me out. As I said, I use different measures.
If you haven't finished it, then you haven't proven it, then obviously.
Well, the thing is, I guess so 10 scoring titles and 9 all defense selections aren't a good qualifier.
Is that not cherry picking? What are you doing if that's not cherry picking?
I'm not cherry picking. I'm just giving you two examples. You're saying I haven't made a case for it. How are 10 scoring titles, most of anybody in the history of the NBA, and 9 all defense selections are? How is that cherry picking?
I'll tell you how it's cherry. Maybe we have a different definition of cherry picking. So let me just make sure we're on the same page. Cherry picking means you find things for one player to suit your narrative. So you found things Jordan did. I don't dispute that he did those things, obviously, you know that. But I can find you things that other stars did. Does that mean I'm right and you're wrong? It's cherry picking.
Okay, you can find a lot of things that a lot of stars did. Like, for example, I'll give you, like, Tony Allen. Tony Allen's been to multiple all-defense selections. Has he ever led the league in any statistical category?
Okay, but again, you're finding a way.
No. But this is where it gets. When you talk about
maybe can you allow me to finish? No. Can you allow me to finish? Now you're finding a ways to get Jordan. I can do the same thing. Again, I'm repeating myself. I can find you this guy led the league in scoring this many times, rebounding, field goal percentage, steals, blocks, assists, minutes, games. It doesn't mean you're wrong and I'm right, or I'm right and you're wrong. It just means we're just finding things to elevate the guy we want to be number one. That's cherry picking. If you say you're not cherry picking, then go by the totality of the stats. And I don't think you have ever stopped and done any formula where you went by every star and every category and all the leaders and put it all together.
Well, unfortunately, what you're looking at, and this is one of the things that just popped up I saw recently, highest gamer score of all time. Mind you, gamer score is a fairly new statistic that only goes back to about the 1974 season, unfortunately. They're still doing the data on it. Who has the highest gamer score, single gamer score game in the history of the NBA?
Yeah, Will Chamberlain.
Michael Jordan. No, gamer score, not.
So the quality of the phone got a little bad the last few seconds. Just say it again.
The gamer score. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, gamer score. What is that?
That is correct.
Gamer score? I don't know what that in a game.
That is correct. The highest single gamer score by a player. Basically, it looks at it calculates the results of every single player as far as what they've.
Are you talking about analytics? Are you talking about analytics?
It's a type of analytic. In this case right here, it only goes. Unfortunately, the data only goes as far back as 1974.
Analytics is not a factual thing. It's a magic potion that someone came up with and told people it's factual.
I thought we were talking about different stats to use.
No, analytics is not actual stats that are factual. Like, for example, when you play a basketball game and you check how many points you have, rebounds, field goal percentage, etc., those are stats. Analytics tells you, okay, this guy, mix it with this thing, mix it with this stat, and now here's our formula. It's a formula.
Of course it's a formula. As is field goal percentage, that's part of a formula.
Okay, so you rely on analytics. Okay, so then by your logic,
I rely on that. Like I said, I was going to look. The highest gamer score in the history of the game was the Jordan 69 game.
Yeah, but this is silly. No, but I apologize for interrupting, but you don't even have to finish this point because you can find any. I'll give you an example. The most efficient player in the history of the NBA, according to analytics at one point, I don't know if it changed, is Anthony Davis. Do you expect me to believe that because analytics says it, Anthony Davis is the second most efficient player ever? Of course not. Actually, no, I don't want to assume things. Do you think he's the second most efficient player ever?
Absolutely not.
Okay, but
if we're talking about efficiency for a career, who's at the top of the list for a PER?
Okay, no, but that's not the point. You're not getting my point here. My point to you was, if you're going to go by analytics, then be consistent and go by analytics.
I have been consistent. I've talked about individual spaces, and I've also talked about a career basis.
You're not understanding what I'm saying here. Look, if you're telling me this is the analytic gamer, or whatever that thing was, you're going by analytics, but then you say to me, Anthony Davis is not second in PER. That is called selectively picking and choosing what you want to go by and cherry picking. You're not going by all analytics. It's like me telling you, I like NBA stats, but I'm going to go by scoring and not rebounding. I'm going to go by field goal percentage and not free throw percentage.
No, it's probably, as far as free throw percentage, that's probably the only reason why I wouldn't make Wilt any higher.
Let's not change the topic again. You've done that a couple of times where I addressed it and you go to a new thing. Are you going by analytics or are you not going by analytics?
Once again, as I said at the very beginning of this talk, I look at everything.
But you're not. Do you go by analytics or don't you go by analytics?
I look at the analytics. I look at the statistical performance of the player. I look at what their accolades have, both individual and team, and their impact on the game.
No, but you're taking pieces. You're saying, I'm going to take this part of analytics, this part of stats, this part of accolades, and make Jordan a mountain. That's what you're doing, and that is called cherry picking. If you go by everything, and then put it together.
Which I have. And here's the thing. If you're going by everything, who would you put at the top?
I'm glad you asked me that. I do go by everything, and there is no such thing probably as the number one player. This is something that people have brainwashed people, especially Jordan fans. ESPN has brainwashed you guys to thinking Jordan is number one. You say you're going by everything, but I'm still a little confused. You're not going by all the analytics and all the stats. You're going by the parts that help Jordan.
So where would you? Okay, so if you're going to make your case, I know you're saying you don't believe that.
I want to. No. I could.
No.
I want to know what. I want to know what.
You do.
I want to know what.
He tells you that you do, but you just want to give your opinion on it.
No, I can do that, but I want to first. If you can please address what I'm saying. Are you going by everything, or are you not going by everything?
I have gone by everything. Okay. As far as for what he has done on the court, the guy started, as far as his impact on the game, his individual accolades to go along with everything that he's done, as well as, and once again, what he has meant to the league. Dude,
I don't understand what he has meant to the league. You're going by popularity now?
He helped globalize the NBA. He helped globalize the NBA.
What does that have to do with him being the number one player? I don't understand that. It's a basketball game. You're talking about popularity.
In some cases, you have to look at it that way as far as what they meant to the game. Like, do Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. Like, for me, one of the reasons why I hold Larry Bird and Magic in such high regard is what they meant to the game. Because without Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, they wouldn't.
If you're analyzing a basketball game, who's the best player? Popularity has nothing to do with that.
Popularity may not have anything to do with it, because if that was the case, Zion Williams would be the best player to ever play the New Orleans Pelicans, because he's so popular right now.
So why are you going? Go ahead. You said but. Go ahead.
But he's just a kid. But we're talking about what they meant to the league.
No, we're talking about Michael Jordan being the number one player. No, we're talking about the number one player, not popularity and impact.
I look at that. That's a heavy factor into the game, because as far as Kobe had a huge impact. God rest his soul, to the game. LeBron has a huge impact. That puts a good face on the game.
Like man. You're going by popularity.
Magic and Larry Bird, what their impact on the game. Bill Russell and Wilt's impact on the game.
All right. I'll entertain this. All right. So we're gonna go by popularity. Can you explain to me who's more popular, Magic Johnson or Larry Bird?
I'm sorry?
Who's more popular, Magic Johnson or Larry Bird?
I would say Magic is by a hair.
There's no way for you to know that, man. There's no way for you to know who's more popular.
Magic Magic is more popular now because he's more into the public eye than Larry Bird.
No, we're
When they were playing,
we're talking about NBA.
when they were playing,
Yeah.
they were about equal. Plus the fact that, dude, they help
Come
save
on,
the
man.
league.
This doesn't make sense. You're just saying I think this and then acting like it's true. There's no way for you to know popularity. If you go by popularity,
And you can't disprove that either.
well, that's silly. Well, first of all, that doesn't make any sense. First of all, it's not my job to disprove it because you're the one making the claim.
Then why are we here on the show then?
Well, let me address that. I'll show you that. First of all, when someone makes a claim, it's up to you to prove it. You don't say, well, you know what? You can't prove to me there's no zebras on Mars, so it must not be true. That doesn't make any sense. And to answer your second question, why are we here on the show? We were here because you have Jordan as number one and you're trying to prove it, but I'm not forcing you to be on. If you don't want to be on, that's up to you, man.
Because you already have a natural bias on that. I mean, dude, I just
If I have a bias, what do you have? If I have a bias and I don't pick anyone,
Well, I'll put it to you like
and
this.
you pick Jordan, who has the bias?
Well, you just recently posted a video of Ron Harper not long ago.
Okay, we're going to change it to this now? Okay, all right.
Ron Harper, Hollywood Harper was one of my favorite players growing up. Absolutely love the guy.
Okay.
And
You really want to talk about Ron Harper now? You don't want to talk about, every time I get you on something, you go to a new topic. You know you keep changing it, right?
yeah, you didn't make it to be open for a little back and forth. But
No, I know, but there's no. We can go to Ron Harper. Yeah, you can go to that if you want. You can go to Ron Harper. I'm not going to I'm going to give you time. I just want to point out to you, I still want to go on topics of Jordan and who's number one. We've gone to popularity, we've gone to analytics, which is all fine, but now we're going to Ron Harper. I mean, what's next after I address Ron Harper? We're going to go to something else then.
Well, this basically shows where your stance is, because you're saying like he could cheat similar to Jordan. Could he really? Now, did he have a play style similar to Jordan when he was younger, pre-knee surgery? He did.
That's the point of my video. When I don't know if you got the title. When he was healthy, he was just as good as Jordan.
No, absolutely. When he was healthy, but even when he was healthy, he wasn't the mid-range shooter that Jordan was.
He was.
Could he dunk like Michael? Absolutely. Wasn't a free throw shooter like Jordan was, even when healthy.
I don't know what numbers. I don't know what numbers you're checking. I mean, you can check the number. He's similar. He's not that far off. He's very similar to Mike. In fact, again,
he was about 72. He was 72% for his career. Jordan was an 83% shooter for his career.
You just said when he was healthy. Now you went to career.
Even when he was healthy, he was never in height in the low 80s.
Well, what was he?
Mid 70s.
Okay, and what was Jordan?
Low 70s. Jordan was like an 82, 83.
Okay, so
We're talking about almost a 5 to 10% difference.
I'm trying to understand here. Mid 70s to low 80s, is that huge of a difference to you where you have a problem with me saying Ron Harper is similar to Jordan?
Well, put it to you like this. They're taking 1,000 free throws. Jordan's making about at least 100 more.
Okay, so now we're going to do this routine. Okay, so if we're going to go by that statistics...
No, I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting you know.
And I'm following up to your consistency. Aside from the fact the video was not about free throws, it was about every category. But if you want to go on that logic that, hey, every 1,000 makes him better, okay, fine. Now apply that logic to every legend who ever played in the NBA. Every 1,000, you can find players better than Jordan.
No, you definitely can. Like, I can just name a couple guys that I play. A few guys that retired recently. Steve Nash was a better free throw shooter than Jordan.
No, I didn't say free throw. I said, I'm meaning lots of statistics. You can find players better than Jordan.
You can, in one aspect or another, not total. As what I mean by total.
Go ahead.
No. What I mean by total is to score with the consistency that he did. Let's face it, the guy shot over 50% for most of his career for a guard, which is...
I'm confused. I'm a little confused. First you said you can find guys who are not as consistent as Jordan. You cannot find guys consistent as Jordan. Okay, fine. But then you specifically went to your own random category of field goal percentage for a guard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me show you what you just did. Let me show you what you just did. If I said to you, you can't find anyone who consistently scored as Wilt Chamberlain, and then I went to for a center when it comes to field goal percentage. Do you not see the difference? You're changing it. You're moving the goalpost. Don't you see what you're doing, man? You find ways to make Jordan number one. You cherry pick. It's not just you. A lot of Jordan fans do this.
So Is there another scorer that's as consistent as Jordan in the history of the game?
Yes.
For their career?
Yes.
Both for regular season and playoff.
Well, that's a silly question because not every player goes to the playoffs the same amount of times as a regular season. Regular season, everyone's there. This is another thing you guys do. You guys act like the playoffs is separate from the regular season, but that doesn't make sense because it is separate. I agree, but the teams can't go in the playoffs and win in the playoffs if they don't have a good enough team. You know it's a team game, but you keep isolating Jordan as if he did it by himself.
Well, since we're talking about individuals, Jordan was the most consistent scorer in the history of the playoffs. As well as now, I will say this: while he does have the highest points per game for a career, Wilson is the greatest scorer in regular season history. That I will say.
Okay, then I'm more confused. I want to understand. If Wilt is
the thing is, you still got to play in the playoffs. It's not like you throw a blanket sheet in the playoffs and say, okay, that doesn't matter.
No,
Wilson was not as consistent a scorer in the playoff as Jordan was.
But that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense either.
That's what.
Go ahead.
Jordan elevated his game in the playoffs.
Okay, so explain to me.
A lot of guys weren't.
Yeah, explain to me. Lots of stars elevate their game in the playoffs. It's not just Jordan, man. And I was going to get you other points, but go ahead, man. Go ahead. I want to give you time.
No, because the thing is, a lot of players don't have what's the word I'm looking for right here? They're not as consistent. They're not as consistent in their performance as Jordan was from regular season.
Are you talking about scoring or overall game?
Overall game.
Can you explain to me how you know Jordan's overall game was the highest in the playoffs compared to every other player?
No, I'm saying he elevates his game from playoffs.
Okay, that's even better. That's even better.
Playoffs.
How do you know he elevates his overall game over every other legend who ever played in the NBA in the playoffs?
With the consistency that he had to maintain the level of consistency he played with.
However, you're saying Jordan elevated his game the most. How do you know that? How do you know he's number one over every other legend?
Throughout his career. Magic had a few down years. Bird had a few down years. Wilt had a few down years.
What are you talking about?
Kareem had a few down years.
What are you talking about, man? What are you talking about?
Where they would have a good regular season, and then when the playoffs came in, whether it be injury or whether it be something that happened to the player as far as they're just not playing well, they experienced a dip in the playoffs as far as
so let me show you what you're doing. Okay, so I want to know how you analyze this. So how do you analyze, like, how many games do they have to be in the playoffs? Because what if one guy went to the playoffs 11 times and another guy went 3 times, but the guy who went 3 times had elevated his game higher, but the guy who went 11 times didn't, but he went to more finals or whatever. How are you? I want to know how you're analyzing this. Like, have you gone over every star who ever played in the NBA and compared to regular season
you're talking
playoffs?
about you could play 3 great seasons in the playoffs.
What was that?
For your whole career. No, you could do that. Like,
I missed that. What was that?
Be able to do that. You can have a player who had a very good regular season, and they just absolutely had a great playoff run, whether they won it or not, but they had a great playoff run. They performed individually at a high level for 3 seasons. But we're not talking about 3 seasons.
No. I know we're not talking about
for a career.
You didn't get my point.
We're talking about for a career.
No, I know we're not talking about 3 seasons. I know that. You're not getting my point. You have to, if you're going to come to this kind of conclusion that Jordan elevated his game over everyone else, you have to show me how you know that, where you elevate every star, like take every star who ever played in the NBA, every star, okay? And then take what they did in the regular season and take what they did in the playoffs. You expect me to believe that you went through every star and you checked every category and you went by the overall, everything pretty much, and then you analyze the ranking order. This guy elevated the most, the second most, the third most. You didn't do all that, man. There's no way to do that.
I'll give you a few modern year.
I'm not interested in cherry picking.
You asked how. I'll give you a few modern year examples.
But I'm not asking for cherry picking. I'm asking for how you did it overall.
How I did it overall?
Yeah.
Look at how did they perform in the regular season? And did they perform as well or better, or did they maintain roughly around the average the same in the playoffs?
Right, but then there's a hole in that argument. How many games count? Suppose one guy went to the playoffs 1 more year, and he elevated his game more. Is he better than another guy who went 1 less year? Or what if a guy went 3 more years?
And here's the point you're missing. here's the point that you're missing. You're talking about one guy who went to the playoffs 5 years versus the guy who went to the playoffs 2 years. They give me an X and Y comparison.
What was that?
Jordan played at an exceptionally high level his whole career. Not saying that other players don't play at a high level. They played at an extremely high level as well. But he took his game to another level, to another gear in the playoffs.
Lots of stars do that, man. It's not just Jordan.
Not everybody.
I didn't say everybody. I didn't say everybody.
Not as consistent as he did.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I will be open-minded, even though I already know there's no way you could have done this. But let's find out. You say not as consistent. When somebody says Michael Jordan elevated his career the highest, his stats, whatever, the highest in the playoffs over every other star and did it as consistently, is that a fact?
Well, I'll give you a few examples.
No, is that a fact?
How can I present the fact if I'm not allowed to be present?
I didn't ask you right now to present it.
No. But you're asking me a question. You asked, is it a fact? But you're not allowing me to provide an example.
No, but you can provide the example. But the question is not can you. I didn't ask you can you provide the example right now. I might have asked you before, but right now I'm saying is it a fact? It's a yes or no question, isn't it? Or inconclusive.
Just take a look at it.
No, I'm asking you again. Is it a fact?
In my opinion,
it's not an opinion. No, it's not an opinion. It's a fact or not.
Based on the fact of the players that I looked at.
No, this is silly. It's not an estimation. It's not an opinion. It's either a fact or it's not, or it's inconclusive.
And I was willing to give you examples, but
you're not paying attention. Man. I'm not against your examples. You can give your examples. I want your examples. I'm open to your examples. I'm asking you first to think analytically. Is it a fact?
I am thinking analytically. When you analyze what he did during those games, from his regular season, year over year.
I got you. I got you. You don't have to repeat yourself. I got you. Now I'm asking you. I'm following up to you. You have concluded regular season versus playoffs. Jordan elevated his game over every other legend, and he did the most consistently. Is it before I continue? Am I understanding you right?
You would be accurate because a lot of players can't either. You don't have to. And this is where I came to the conclusion right here.
You don't have to. You don't have to do this. I just want to know: did I understand what you're saying? I want to first establish no misunderstanding.
Yes, and the reason, yes.
Okay, now,
yes,
okay? So that means you think it's true. Those things are true. So they're true. Now, is it a fact?
It's based upon the fact. Just based upon
no.
Year over
I don't
year.
know why you don't want to answer the question. Is it a fact?
I just answered your question. I said yes.
Okay, now, if it's a fact, I'm glad you finally answered this. If it's a fact, this should not take long. This should not take an explanation. This should not be like, here, this. Just please point to me to the page online that shows very conveniently it is a fact.
That's you can either go to NBA.com,
okay,
basketballreference.com,
okay,
AtlantaBasketball.com, and you can do the research right there.
I have been to NBA Reference. I worked for the NBA. I've been to the NBA's webpage. I can assure you there is no place on the internet where it says Jordan elevated his game the highest and most consistent from regular season to playoffs over every other star. You are just making things up.
If I'm making things up, then explain how Kareem's numbers dipped for his career from regular season to playoffs.
Okay.
Explain how the same thing happened. No. This is where you wanted to get.
I'm saving you time.
You wanted to know where the fact came from.
I'm saving you time. You don't even have to tell me these names because it doesn't matter why they did it. If you're saying this is my conclusion, you have to be able to prove it. You can't just make claims and act like it's true.
And I am proving that.
It's not a fact, man. It's not a fact. You don't know what a fact means then if you think it's a fact. It's not a fact. It's making things up.
So if I said that Jordan led the league in scoring for 10 seasons, that's not a fact?
That is a fact.
Yes, that is a fact, and his numbers have consistently went up.
And that's why, that's why I can easily go to reference the one you were saying in NBA, and I don't know if the NBA has it, probably do. I can easily find out right away in 1 second Jordan's 10 scoring titles. But you can't find the other stuff we're talking about because you're making stuff up and you're thinking it's a fact.
So am I making stuff up when I said that Will Chamberlain's numbers took a dip during the playoffs?
Oh, no, I didn't. But am I disputing that? Did I dispute Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? Did I dispute Michael Jordan's 10?
Even same with Magic, same with Bird.
No, but did I?
But once again, this is where I came to the resolution. This is where I came to the conclusion.
You're cherry picking ways to elevate Michael Jordan. That's all you're doing. You don't even realize you're doing that.
How is it cherry picking? Okay, so if a guy who kills it in the regular season and then plays like a dog in the playoffs.
I'll tell you what. If we were having a debate about Michael versus Kareem's scoring, that's different. If we were having a debate about Jordan versus Wilt scoring, that's different. Or about who elevates compared to players, regular season playoffs, that's different. But you are doing more than that. You have come to the grand golden conclusion that Mike from regular season to playoffs, not only did he elevate his game higher than everyone else, but he
can elevate his teammates.
Oh, fine. Throw that in there. Elevate his teammates, and he was the most consistent. You're coming up with not one, not two, three things that you are concluding as factual, and you have no factual way to prove it.
But you cannot refute.
Of course I can. There's no proof. There's no evidence. There's no fact. When you said to me, "Can you remember you asked me?"
I gave you examples. I gave you examples.
But those examples. Remember you said to me, "Did Jordan score 10 scoring titles?" That is true, and I can find it in 1 second. But your three things you cannot find. What you did was, and I know what happened. You took some players and compared some of them to Jordan, and you isolated scoring and a few stats that you like, and you didn't go by all the stats. And don't tell me you know who made their teammates better. There's no way to prove that, man.
Well, there's certain ways to prove that.
Certain ways, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's no way to prove it overall, man. That's what I'm saying. You're cherry picking. You're selective.
It's not cherry picking. Okay, well, making players better. Jordan took time away at about. He formed his breakfast club with Horace Grant and Scottie Pippen to improve with them, to work out with them away from practice.
And no other star does. No other star does this. What is this, man? You're just selectively cherry picking.
Who do you think was the catalyst of it?
I'm asking you. No one else does this. You ask me who's a catalyst. I don't understand.
No, I said who do you think was the catalyst of it?
I'm asking.
Players are doing it now because that's what led to the success that he had when he was winning his titles.
But we're not disputing Jordan works out with people in practice and takes them out somewhere else.
But it's part of the overall assessment right there.
And I'm saying to you, he's not the only guy who does that. He's not the only guy who does that.
No, he's not the only guy who does that now. But back then, when he was playing, he pretty much was the catalyst of it.
But he's not the only catalyst. I don't understand why you keep elevating Jordan over everyone else. It doesn't make any sense. You're just doing what every Jordan fan does, which is this is my criteria.
If we're gonna break down why I chose him over the rest, could I give you who the rest is? Where I stand with them.
Yeah, if you want, but you're proving my point. You're just going by.
No, because you're asking. What you're asking. The main question was, why do I think Michael Jordan is number one overall? Right. And the only way I could be able to do that is to give a general, comparison to who else I feel are the greatest players of all time.
Okay, let me show you why I disagree. If you and I were having a debate, who's the best scorer? There's only certain things we can do. We can go by scoring titles. We can go by average, career, total points, things like that. So you don't have to go by every star and say, this is what I think.
No, I'm not going to go by every star.
No, I know. You're going to go by some. I know that. So, but my point is, you can easily do it fast because you have data, statistics to back it up and prove it. What you're doing, and I already knew what you were doing. It's what not every Jordan fan. Lots of Jordan fans do this. You come to your own criteria. This is my criteria, and I'm going to compare them to these stars and these stats, and then put a little bit of here, this accolades and this category and this topic. Put it all together. Jordan is number one. That's called being cherry picking selective. You're moving the goalpost, finding ways to elevate Jordan.
Moving the goalpost. Okay, so I would. So is it better that I should have someone who has fewer accolades, fewer awards, fewer records?
Why would you even go by accolades? Why would you even go by accolades? Records I have no issue with. Records count. Why would you go by accolades and awards? Why do you Jordan fans love accolades and awards to elevate Jordan over other stars? I know the reasons, but what?
Do you think does the MVP mean nothing then?
Does the best player always win the MVP?
Not always, but at the same time, do 6 Finals MVPs matter nothing?
Does the best player always win the Finals MVP?
Not always.
Okay, so why would you?
How many instances has it happened?
Okay, but why would you?
That's a small number.
No, but that's not the only thing.
That's a very small
Well, you don't
number.
have to repeat it 3 times. I heard you the first time. So that doesn't make the reason I don't rely on these things is because it's people voting. It's people coming up with their own random opinions on whatever they believe. You cannot then say, I rely on all this voting, and then tell me, yeah, it's not always reliable. If it's reliable, go with it. If it's not always reliable, then you're just making things up.
I would really like to know who your favorite player was.
Favorite, I can no. I did actually answer your point about who's number one. Remember, I did say there's probably
No.
such thing as favorite. No, I know favorite. I know. No, you're asking my favorite. I know.
Favorite and all-time greatest are two different conversations.
I was getting to that. No, I knew you said favorite. I was actually just letting you know for the record. I wanted to tell you earlier. You did ask me about who do I think is number one. I addressed that, and now you're asking favorite, which I know you're asking favorite. There's a difference. I know it's not the same thing. I can tell you my favorites, but just out of curiosity, I hope you don't mind me asking. Just why do you want to know my favorites? I'm just wondering. What's the reason?
Just out of curiosity, I never heard you mention it. That's why.
Okay, no problem. Favorites, I have so many, man. I'll give you some names here. Wilt Chamberlain.
If you had to say, if you had to make a top five of your every position, your favorite.
Yeah, I can do that, man, but it fluctuates. There's no factual way to do it unless you go by stats and records, man. It's the only thing. Everything else is just picking your favorites. Actually, that's what you're asking me. My favorites. Okay. You know, man. Honestly, man, I'm open-minded. I'll just give you some names of who I like. But it doesn't mean it's like solid factual proof. It changes. You know what I mean?
No. These are your personal choices.
Yeah, I mean, I like Magic Johnson. I like Wilt Chamberlain. I like Larry Bird, Jerry West, John Stockton. But I don't want to pick them like that because there's just so many greats, man. It's just how do you pick them and rank them? That's why I think this whole thing about ranking players, especially ranking Jordan number one, is silly, and it's just people making up stuff. But anyway. Now that you have an idea, you still have not proven Jordan is number one. You said earlier you have proven it, but then you were like, I haven't gotten to it. Do you feel like you've proven it or you haven't gotten to it yet?
I haven't gotten to it. Okay. But here's, I guess, because as I mentioned, I look at all aspects. What he did, what the player did in the regular season. What did the player do in the playoffs? And as I mentioned, impact on the game.
But let's go to that third one. How in the world would you analyze impact? That's just you making up an opinion or a guess.
Hey, sometimes public opinion, not in all cases, but it's just really, seriously, name a player who hasn't heard of Mike.
But we're not talking about who's popular. We're talking about impact.
No, but yeah, impact. How many players chose to become NBA players because of?
Oh, when you said impact of the game,
mind you, I'm talking about obviously the players that came after him. Obviously,
that's kind of. I mean, I'll get to that, but just for the record, when you said impact, I thought you meant impact like in a game, like actual playing the game. You're talking about even outside, like role models and heroes. I mean, how would you? I mean,
that is correct.
But what? It's just silly, man.
How is it silly about a black man who came from the countryside of North Carolina who became a billionaire?
It's not silly. It's not silly in the name of righteousness and like heroes and love and making the world a better place. It's silly in terms of ranking players. Jordan is number one because he's popular, and then who's number two? Who's number three? It's just silly, man.
You say it's silly, but a lot of people put LeBron on that pedestal for everything that he's done.
LeBron James has finally come up.
Outside of the court.
Finally come up. Jordan fans always bring up LeBron James.
No. I'm talking about outside of the game.
Yeah, no, but LeBron fans do it. I'm sure lots of people have their heroes and their level, but if anyone ranks players based on popularity, it's silly. It just doesn't make any sense. It's ridiculous. Just because other people do it too doesn't mean they're right. It's just making things up, man. You still have not proven Jordan is number one. You will not be able to prove it, man. If you got something else, go for it.
As I already told you, look at his body of work. Would you say that is the body of work of a player who's not a top five, at the very least, a top five player?
I would not put him top five, yes. If I ranked players, which I don't, but if I did, I would not.
Why?
Because there is no factual reason to put him top five. I have to go by facts. Otherwise, we might as well start debating what ice cream.
Facts. What facts do you go by? Please break it down.
Sure. If you have to rank players.
Let's take away scoring because we already know that category.
Go ahead. Oh, well, why? Was Jordan number one in scoring?
Well, he does have the highest points per game average for the career for career in the regular season and playoffs, right?
So I don't want you to think I'm avoiding your question. I know you said you want to break it down. I'll get to that, but I just want to. Can I get to this first, man? Is it okay?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. So a guy doesn't even average 1 point more, and you make him a better scorer.
And then you look at the playoffs, and he averages 11 points more.
Okay, compared to Wilt or compared to everyone?
Compared to Wilt.
Okay, but we're not debating Jordan
And
Wilt
the closest guy,
right?
and the closest guy to him in the playoffs is about, what, 5 points behind him?
Okay, but then you also have to consider that some players are going to go deeper and less deep into the playoffs because based on their team. How would you be able to analyze who counts? Like, for example, in the regular season, when they vote for Rookie of the Year and MVPs, they have criteria. You got to play this certain amount of games. And, if you play too many, like 2-3 years, you're not a rookie. They have criteria. There's no way for you to know what counts as a criteria to know who ranks as the best scorer in the playoffs versus regular season. And if you find ways, because you can go by certain things, there's no way for you to know like who's number 2, who's number 3, number 4. It just doesn't make sense, man.
That's why you play a whole career.
Okay, so then Kareem...
Who's number 2 to Michael? I think the guy who's number 2 to Michael in scoring in the playoffs, and I'm just trying to go off of memory, I believe it's West.
No, but then again, how is another guy supposed to be in the top score if his team doesn't get the same amount of games?
That's why you look at averages.
No, okay, so if a guy averages...
I'm talking about averages, because we're talking about total points. Jordan is, what, 4th or 5th now in career points.
Okay, just to make sure, are you doing something? Because it sounds like you're moving around doing some other stuff.
It's all right. Just going to go get some water real quick.
Okay, no problem. Do you want to go back and relax, or you want to wait?
Give me 1 second.
Okay, I'll pause it. Folks, we're just waiting for him to get water and stuff.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, so we were talking about how do you, okay, you were saying about how you go by averages, but remember I addressed this point earlier? I was saying to you, what if a guy went through 3 games or something like that, 3 series, and another guy went to more? And you went to something else, I think, unless I'm wrong. Did you address that part? I think you did.
Okay, the big difference is that the fact that Jordan was able to do it for a career, because you mentioned the earlier example, one guy who played extremely well for 5 years or 6 years, but a guy who only played 3 years in the playoffs played better than him. You're going to have scenarios like that,
right?
But we're not talking about 3 years. We're not talking about 5 years. Jordan played in the playoffs for 13 years.
No, I understand that, but the point is...
And was able to be at that high level for 13 years.
Yeah,
do you know how difficult that is to do?
But we're not disputing Jordan was the man, and he did things that were tough, and he was a wonderful legend. You don't have to ask me, do you know how demanding that is? We know Jordan did well. My point to you is he's not the only one who did well. You can't prove he was the highest and he did the best at making his teammates better and he was the most consistent. This is making things up. And the part about less games versus more games, yes, you're right. There are people who played lots of games, but now you have to be able to have a criteria. So for example, what if one guy went 9 years? That's pretty long, right? And then another guy went 17 years. So now they're still long, but they have a big gap. And then what if a guy had more first round exits versus a guy who had more second and third round exits? What if one guy went to the finals more and another guy went less? What if one guy missed the playoffs more than others? And there's just so many things to put together. You cannot come to these conclusions like it's factual. It's making things up, man.
Well, here's one thing though.
Okay.
He played at an exceptional level, and he did it consistently for his 13 out of his 15 years.
Okay.
13 years in the playoffs out of his 15-year career.
Okay. What does that prove?
And playing at that high of a level. Now, are there players that have played at an exceptionally high level by year 13, year 14 in the regular season? Absolutely, we're actually witnessing that right now with LeBron. Kobe played at a high level when he was 34. I believe that was year 15, year 16.
But
It's the playoffs where you have to make your impact. Unfortunately for Kobe, his body just failed him.
Well, we're not. Yeah,
So he wasn't.
but I'm still.
His body failed him.
Yeah, so I understand what you're saying.
Unfortunately,
Yeah, go ahead.
And unfortunately, that happens to a lot of career players where you think where you hear the media make whispers. Oh, you know what? This guy might be the next so and so, or might be the next this guy. But something happens, and their body breaks down, and they're just not able to.
Yeah, not everyone got to take a couple. Not everyone got to take a couple of breaks like Michael Jordan. He had the broken foot by his second year. So if you're talking about a sophomore jinx, it doesn't get much more of a jinx than missing 60 games. I'm not talking about any jinx. I'm just showing you that you can find ways to elevate Jordan, but you can do the same thing for other stars. So when
he came back the year after and had a monster year.
Are you talking about the 80s or in the 90s? Which one are you talking about? 90s.
Well, the year after he broke his foot.
Okay, and lots of players have monsters. I don't understand why, again, you're elevating Jordan. It doesn't make any sense, man. You're doing what every Jordan fan does. You're saying, look at what Jordan does. Here's a history lesson. Here's his resume. Here's what he did. Yes, but he's not the only guy. And how do you know Jordan is number one?
Well, was he the only guy to ever score 3,000 points in a season? No. Was he the only other guy to ever do it?
Okay, and?
We don't know. And in the same year he dropped the 3,000 points, he was the first ever guy to have 200 steals and 100 blocks.
I find it amazing you're doing that, because I thought to you said playoffs is what matters, and I'm guessing winning is what matters, impact matters. Now you're going to years where he's better statistically, but he loses.
No, I'm going by year now at this point right here.
Okay, so you can do year by year. They have averages, and if you take all the averages of every player, Jordan does not have the best statistics.
Scoring-wise, it's usually around wilt. As far as year by year, year over year,
we're not talking about only scoring. We're talking about
wilt.
overall player. He's the number one player. We're not saying he's a number one scorer or not. Even that I dispute, by the way, but we don't have to go by scoring. Overall numbers. You said you go by everything. You are not going by all the stats, man. He does not have the number one stats or analytics for that matter.
Yeah, a lot of the players that have the number one stats over him have played significantly more games than him. Okay. For example...
Wait. Hold on. No, you just contradicted yourself. You just brought up my point about the playoffs thing. Remember more games? You just brought that up now for your regular season.
But he also had a high average as well.
Wait, hold on. No, but do you not see your contradiction?
This is where I'm going. This is where I'm going with it.
What about your contradiction, though?
No. I'm going to address that. I'm going to address that right now.
Okay.
Because we're talking about his average or his steals per game.
Okay.
He's number 2 behind John Stockton, is he not?
What, in steals?
Steals.
You know what? I have to check that. Is he really number 2 behind Stockton? That can't be right. Is he number 2?
I'm going to say he's up there. He's up there.
Wait, come on, man. Come on. Now you're not even sure about your own categories, man. Come on, man. Don't do that.
Hold on.
If he's number 2, maybe he is. I just don't know if he's number 2. I'm not going to take your word for it, definitely. If you don't even know.
Yeah, he's number 2.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, he's number 2.
Just to make sure.
He's the only 3,000 guy.
Just to make sure. So just to make sure.
In the only Mr. 3,000.
Wait, just to make sure. In the regular season, he's all-time second. Second leader in steals total, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, there's another contradiction you just did. You were telling me you go by.
But look at his average.
Averages,
look
right?
At his average.
Right.
Yes.
So
he has one of the highest averages in steals.
No, but man, come on, man. This is silly. Come on, you're just finding things to elevate Jordan.
But the thing is, he's high in that category for average. He's the highest in points per game for a career.
You're not getting what I'm saying. You're not getting what I'm saying. You're saying Jordan.
I'm talking about his average.
Right. No. But
what he averaged when he played is what he put out per game.
No. Why'd you tell me about his total? But why'd you tell me about his total? What was all that about?
No, I just wanted to mention about Stockton because the fact that Stockton has 500 more games than him, but still has a smaller average than him.
No, but you were telling me Jordan is number 2 in steals. Why'd you tell me that? What was that all that about?
The reason why is because he's the number 2 guy, but played significantly less games than Stockton. Okay. And he also has one of the highest steals per game, one of the highest steals per game averages in the history of the game. Okay,
so you're going by averages, fine. Now, again, I'm repeating myself, man. If you go by averages, Jordan is not number 1 in stats.
He's number 1 in points. He's up there in the category for.
He's basically tied with
You're talking about points per. No, you're talking about he's not one of the highest in stats. His scoring out of stat.
No, but I don't understand.
Scoring is basically like touchdowns for a quarterback or home runs for a hitter in baseball.
The last Jordan fan I had on did the same routine. We're talking about stats. You say you go by everything, all stats, and then you isolate scoring. I don't understand why you're doing that. And the scoring, he's not even like that much ahead. He's like less than a point ahead.
And then the playoffs happen, and he's up significantly more.
But now you're going to playoffs. You can't mix in regular season and playoffs. It doesn't make any sense. You can't.
Okay, making all things that if you make all things even, making all things even, if you give him the same number of playoff games that we'll say Wilt had or something like that, his average actually goes up.
What are you talking about? I don't follow. What are you talking about?
As far as points per game.
Again, you're back to points. I don't understand why you're isolating points. And he's not even averaging that much more than Wilt anyway, even if we win by points. You said you go by everything. I said Jordan does not have the number one stats. He does not. And you keep going to points. And again, he's not even like that far ahead in points.
This is where Jordan was also one of the, and this is an underrated part of his game.
Oh, wow.
His passing was actually pretty damn good.
No, okay, but I don't want to change this into that topic. Now, I can dispute that too. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But what's the point? There are lots of players who pass pretty good, man.
No, he had a higher usage rating. He didn't really turn over the ball that much compared to many others.
Actually, go check his analytics on that. You might change your opinion on that.
His usage rating is I believe he has the highest usage rating in history. I want to say he's not even top 20.
Okay, but I'm still trying to understand, why are you picking bits and pieces wherever you like? Don't you see what you're doing? You're taking it where you like it. In other words, you're saying I'm going to take.
You probably have to give you my opinion. Am I correct?
Right.
You asked me why I think, and I'm giving you the reason why I think.
Yeah, am I correct? And I'm following up to what you're doing. Am I correct? I'm following up to what you're doing. Am I correct?
You're following up saying that he was never number one in any stat. Okay.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I said he just.
Oh no, you said that stats didn't back it up.
I said if you go by stats, because you say you go by averages and you say you go by everything, he does not have the number one statistic. This is not my opinion. This is factual.
Which statistic are you looking at?
Okay, so I'll explain that. But I thought you said you go by everything. What do you mean by everything? Do you mean like awards and accolades? Actually, I think you did. Yeah, you did say that. You go by everything. But in statistics, do you not know what are the statistics in NBA? Do you not know the statistics?
Absolutely.
Okay, so why are you asking me which ones I'm talking about? You know the statistics in NBA, don't you? I mean,
yeah, the guy was one for a guard. He's one of the greatest, if not the greatest, offensive rebounder in the game.
Now you change it to for a guard.
Do you know how many offensive rebounders, the greatest offensive rebounders, are typically power forwards and centers?
Okay, so now I can. So now we can do the same thing for guards. Do you know guards usually get more steals and shoot more in the outside?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. He still hits at a high rate, and he still had a high steals per game average.
And the big men have a high rate.
Other all-time greats, he does.
No, wait, hold on. Every time I get you on something, you go to something else. Stick to one thing at a time. You said to me, we were talking about all stats. Then you went to, well, big men get certain stats better. So I went to, well, so do guards. And then you said, yeah, and he's doing really well in guards. Okay, so big men also do really well in their stats.
That they do.
So why do you elevate Jordan down to the other stars?
But he still has higher offensive rebounds for a career, higher than a lot of other bigs who are naturally larger.
Okay, so would you like so if what aren't there big men who have higher stats that guards usually get that big men don't get as much? You know?
That is correct. But when you're talking about a guard that's in that category as well.
Okay, and when you're talking about a big man who's in that category as well, this works both ways. You're just finding ways to cherry pick for Jordan. You're just picking bits and pieces for Jordan. What you're doing is you're putting a bowl and say, I'm going to take a little bit of rice, a little bit of nachos, a little bit of burritos, put it all together and call it the greatest food ever. It doesn't make any sense.
So you're disregarding everything that basically he...
No. You're disregarding the other stars and you're elevating Michael Jordan.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay, then watch this. Watch this. Does Michael Jordan have the number one overall statistics? Not scoring, not steals, overall statistics.
If we're talking overall statistics, Wilt.
Okay, but it's not Jordan, right?
As far as statistics, no.
When you
as
say,
far as regular season,
when
no.
you say as far as statistics, that is the game. That's basketball games right there.
Okay. Basketball game is generated from statistics. However,
okay.
There are other things that you have to factor in as well.
I agree with you. What do you got?
Well, one of the things that Jordan was able to do, as I mentioned, he elevated his game. Wilt, as you said, now, can we agree? Statistically,
we're going to the circle now. Okay.
Wilt has superior. Can we agree? Wilt statistically is superior than anybody on a statistical basis. To pretty much anybody in the history of the game.
But just to make sure I understand, because I've seen a lot of people do this. When people say stats-wise, yeah, on statistics, yeah. Well, when it comes to statistics, sure. Statistics is actually the game. I don't know why people separate statistics like it's something different. It's actually what they do in the game.
It's actually what they do in the game, but it's when you do it and how you do it.
What do you mean how you do it? If you're doing it, that's the most important thing.
I'll give you a really good example. And I'm going to use the example of Wilt.
Okay.
Of what I mean.
Okay.
All right. I want to say it was the 71 finals versus the New York Knicks.
Okay.
Okay. Game 5, Willis Terrence's squad.
Oh, what was that?
He was named the series where Willis Reed got hurt.
Okay. I can tell we're going to do some more selective, isolating, cherry picking, random stuff. Go ahead.
No, but this is basically where statistics can basically backfire on.
Oh no! I don't dispute statistics are not 100% reliable. I don't dispute that.
And if you're not disputing that portion, that's also part of the game you got to look at.
But my point is, at the end of the day, if you're going to rank players, the number one most reliable thing is statistics. That's the most reliable thing. If you
I think the number one most reliable thing engaging players is actually watching them play.
So you watched every player that ever played?
I had this one guy who used to be on YouTube. He used to send me Wilt Chamberlain videos, but he got 86.
So by the way, no, I don't understand. You have not watched every player who ever played, and even if you did,
I've watched half of Wilt's career.
But I was going to tell
all of Magic, Jordan,
there's more.
And basically anybody since 86.
But there's more. There's more horrors. Even if somehow you think you watched every player who ever played, let's just say you watched everyone. I'm going to say you have Doc Brown's time machine, and you watched every player who played. Then the question becomes, well, it's your interpretation. It's a subjective thing. This is like I can ask 100 people and they'll give me their subjective. It's like asking what's your favorite ice cream. You're just going to go by your opinion. There's no facts on that. And then the other thing is, what's your criteria? What if one guy watches 100 games and another guy watches 90? Or one guy watches for 60 years, another guy watches for 50 years. And then what about the quality of the tape? And are you watching full games from beginning to end? And are you in person or watching it on TV? I mean, there's just so many loopholes here. It does not make sense. But what you do is you say...
It's actually watching every game, my man.
Say it again?
Watching every game, my man.
Okay, you watched every game, but you have not watched
I watched every game that I just finished telling you, sir.
Right, but you have not done it for I don't know if you're paying attention to me or not, man. You have not done it for every legend, and even if you have, it's a subjective thing, and it's your interpretation of things, and there's a difference between in person and on tape. And by the way, there are people older than you. I don't know your age, but there are people older than you who watched more players than you, and they don't pick Jordan. Who am I going to rely on more, the older people or you?
Well, if you're going that route, who are I going to believe more? Someone like me, or someone like you, or an older fan?
Right. No. So the older people who have more experience in life, who've been around more, they will know more. Obviously. I don't act like I don't rank players. I'm not acting like I know more than everyone, like my way is the highway and everyone else is wrong. I don't pick the things that you pick to rank players. If I have my favorites, I can tell you who I'm starting a team with, but there's no factual way to prove it unless you go by statistics and records. There's nothing else.
Well, here's where statistics can be a little bit off.
Well, we already agree statistics are not 100% reliable, so...
They're not. They're definitely not reliable. I mean, someone could have 35 points, could score 35, 40. Well, let's say a 30-point game. I'm just giving a scenario.
Sure.
to throw 30 points in the game. But if at the course of during the game, his team's getting blown out, and they just stop scoring up until it's garbage time, did those 30 points really?
Right, but how come you don't do the same thing for Jordan? I can find you variables where his statistics may not be reliable. I don't even downplay Jordan. I'm just saying, if you want to find variables with other people, why don't you find it with Jordan? I could do that for you if you want.
No, you could do that. You could do that with anybody.
Right.
When you're talking over the course of a career.
Okay, so again, we're going in a circle. When you go by all the statistics, Jordan does not have the number one statistics. Bro, is it hard for you to let go of Jordan, man? Did you just want him to be number one? Is that what it is?
I'll put it to you like this: I waited for the next Jordan.
I know it, man. I know it.
A very long time.
You know, I'm going to tell you one of the reasons.
The one guy, the one guy who I really wanted to be the next Jordan.
Kobe?
I mean, Grant Hill.
Grant Hill. I was going to say Grant Hill next. Yeah. You know, one of the reasons
it broke my heart when he got those injuries. It just killed me.
One of the reasons I put Jordan fans on, and I do this. One of the reasons. I didn't say it's the only reason. I'm fascinated by the way Jordan fans think. I've noticed with Jordan fans, they love the guy so much. They really are brainwashed by the media. They don't go by facts unless it helps Jordan.
It's not brainwashed if you've actually watched him play.
And they find ways to tear down or dismiss other legends and tear down or dismiss other eras. Now, you say it's not brainwashing. You have not proven Jordan is number one. You're not going to be able to prove it. And telling me that you watched him play doesn't prove anything. It just means you played tape of him and you like him.
I've actually watched every game of his from '86 on.
What does that prove?
Right.
What does that prove? That you're a fan of Jordan? That you know his game?
It's basically understanding his aspects of the game. The fact that he was, as well as not only just being like an absolute physical athlete, like an incredible athlete. As far as from an athletic sense, I could probably say he's a top three athlete.
I don't understand. You don't know you don't know every athlete, and then you conclude he's number three.
Nobody's a better athlete than. I'm going to say this right now. Nobody was a better athlete than Wilt. that I'll take.
Okay. Well, that's reasonable. I respect that, but I don't understand. If we're not disputing some of the things you just said about how when you watched his game, you knew his game and all that.
However,
how do you know he's number one?
You have a lot of guys who are incredibly athletically gifted.
Right.
You had a lot of guys who swing more to the athletic side than they swing more to the fundamental side.
Okay.
And you have a lot of players who swing more on the fundamental side than they do on the athletic side.
Okay.
As far as from a play style.
Okay.
This was the one guy who basically had almost, I'm not going to say perfect, but a damn near perfect balance of both.
Okay, but there are lots of players who had a balance of both, man. What are you talking about?
Not all of them. Not really.
Well, that's what you say. That's what you say. Based on what?
Really,
based on what? You played games of Jordan? I don't understand.
Based on fundamentals.
So now Jordan has So now Jordan has what? The number one fundamentals, or what? What's your point?
I said he was a near perfect balance of both fundamentals and as well as athletic ability.
Okay, and there's lots of players like that.
I'll give you a good example.
No, you don't have to give me an example. There's lots of players like that, man. I don't care about Tim Duncan. Come on.
Not really.
Okay, so you just don't know. You just don't know.
Tim Duncan was a great fundamentalist.
We're not talking about Tim Duncan. No, I don't understand why you guys do this. We're not talking about Tim Duncan.
A lot of players are like that. I'm giving you an example. Was Tim Duncan as fundamental as they get? Absolutely. Was he a superior athlete, physical athlete? Not really.
No, I don't understand. I just said to you, we're not talking about Tim Duncan, and you said, I'm going to give you an example. What is your point of Tim Duncan?
But you just said a lot of players, so I'm giving you an example.
What's the point of that example? I'm talking about other players, and you're talking about Tim Duncan.
The point of that example is how hard as I said, he's as near a perfect balance of both.
And as I said, there are lots of players like that. Again, back to Tim Duncan.
You have a lot of players who swing one way and swing the other, but as far as a balance of both.
Okay. I'm curious. Is that factually true what you're saying, or are you making things up? Is it a fact?
Take a look at the tape.
Okay, then it's not. Then it's not a fact.
I'm sorry this doesn't show up on the precious stat sheet.
I'm sorry you don't want to go by facts and you want to make things up.
That's why you have to watch the game.
Okay, so again, I've addressed this. I've addressed
watch
this.
the game.
Anyone can watch a game and they'll have their own opinion.
Yeah.
It's not a fact.
Watch the game and watch how a player works. Watch how he works.
I don't know if you're not paying attention.
Space.
I've addressed this. People can watch games. It doesn't mean they're right. It just means they're taking it the way they want to take it. Anybody can watch a game. No,
not when it's pointed out to them.
Okay, fine. Fair. Okay, you know what? I'll go with that. Even though that's ridiculous. But if you really want to tell me not really,
how is it ridiculous? How is it ridiculous? If someone is telling you, look how he separates, look how player A can generate separation from this player, from the defender, but yet another player B cannot do the same.
I'm not disputing that part. I'm disputing the part where you go, Mike is number one, and not really anyone else is like him like that.
As far as a balance of both,
all the conclusions.
No, name me one who you think.
No, I can do that, but I'm just trying to get you to think first because you come up with these conclusions.
You're saying you want me to get to.
And I'll do that.
Name me one.
I'll do that happily. But I first want you to acknowledge that your criteria foundation makes no sense. Now you say no, it makes sense.
How does it make no sense?
I'm trying to show you. When you put on a tape for somebody, you first have to understand it's going to be their own subjective thing. It's not a factual thing to prove. It's just their own random thing that I like this guy over that guy. But they're not going to tell you out of all the athletes out of the ever been in the NBA, this guy is factually 1, factually 2, factually 3. It's just making things up. And if you disagree, then the other point I told you was there are older people than us who saw these players, who saw them, and they don't agree with you. So who am I going to rely on, them or you? And then the other problem you have is, what about like people who are in person versus watching it on TV? That's a difference. And how many games have you watched compared to others? There's just so many things you have to consider. It just doesn't make sense, man. But you rank Jordan number one, and you go, well, not really. No one really, anyone else. Did all that go out the window, man?
Sorry. It just cut off a little bit. I do apologize.
No, why didn't you tell me then? I'm not wasting my time, man. I mean,
No, I tried saying hello, but it cut off for a bit.
Okay, let me try again. Look, when you put on a tape, man, anyone can watch a tape. It doesn't mean they're going to take something as factual. It just means their own interpretation. The second problem is there are also people older than us who have more experience who will disagree with you. Am I going to rely on them or am I going to rely on you? The third problem is in person versus on TV. That's a big difference. And then the fourth problem is how many games have you played of how many stars? Some people, you have to watch every star and the same amount of games. You can't just ignore all that. You have to put that together. If you go Jordan is number one and there's no one else who like him.
You can't, but his name keeps on popping up from a lot of legends. And I'm not saying all of them.
Right.
I'm not saying all of them.
Okay.
Because I do know guys like Oscar, guys like Kareem, even Will to a point. They had their opinions on Mike, but a lot of guys from that generation, including a lot of Jordan's peers who he played against, including some of the younger generation that he played against.
Oh, not this one.
He seems to be the kind of. I'm not saying all of them. I'm just saying.
No, I know you're not, but I know where this is going. But go ahead.
But his name keeps on popping up.
His names keep on popping up.
Once again, I'm not saying all of them.
Right.
I
heard you.
But I'm just saying his name keeps on popping up.
Okay.
That's not a coincidence.
Okay, I have an answer for that. When you say his name keeps on popping up, let me tell you what's happening. You're not going to admit this. I know you say it's not brainwashing. His name keeps on popping up because you only notice to the ones who pick Jordan because you love him and you're brainwashed and you want him to be number one. But you know there are other people who don't pick Jordan. What about all the other names that keep popping up? You don't go with those names. You just go with the ones who pick Jordan.
Well, here's the thing. The other names that you hear, you always hear the random names. You always hear, in some cases, you hear Kareem. He's mentioned Wilt as a great.
Are they random names?
You've heard. No, I'm not saying random names, but look at the majority of the name that keeps up, the name that's most commonly popped up by legendary players that he played against, and including players that come after him.
And you can do the same thing. You can do the same thing. No, he can do this. I told you, you can do the same thing for other stars.
No, you can't. But when you talk about the players that came before him, I don't hear West's name
Again,
mentioned very often.
you're doing that random thing again. We're not talking about Jerry
It's not
West.
random. It's refined back to your question.
No, it's not.
No,
You're not understanding. It's like what you did with Tim Duncan. We're not disputing Tim Duncan and Jerry West. We're talking about Jordan is number one. I can find you lots of players' names who pop up a lot, and you went to Jerry West and then earlier Tim Duncan. That's not the topic. We're not disputing Jerry West names pops up versus Jordan.
No, we're not. We're talking about Jordan, but notice Jordan is the name that keeps on popping up from all these legends.
No, it's not. No, most Hall of Fame. You don't have to. You don't have to. You don't have to.
A good portion of these legends.
You don't have to say that over and over. I know you're not saying everyone. I know that. We got that. I think the audience knows by now. You are not saying everyone. Now the question becomes, whose name is being popped up the most? If you go by all Hall of Famers, which I know you have not, I've done the research. There is no evidence that all of them or most of them picked Jordan.
You'll see a lot of names. You'll see Wilt's name come up. You'll see Oscar's name come up. You'll see Kareem's name come up. Am I correct?
Those are some. There's more.
No, there's more. There's definitely a lot more. You'll hear Magic. You'll hear Bird. You'll hear a plethora of all-time great players.
Okay.
And their names come up.
Okay.
A lot of the players that he played against, though, because you mentioned that you want to talk about the legends that came before him, and also
I'm talking all legends, all Hall of Famers, man. I'm talking about all Hall of Famers or most of them.
Yeah, the Hall of Famers that he played against,
okay,
as well as the ones that came after him.
You're talking about Jordan, right? You're talking about Jordan, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about Jordan.
Okay, so but you didn't hear.
You're seeing his name come up quite often.
No, you didn't pay attention to what I said. There's no evidence that all or most Hall of Famers picked Jordan.
If you watch the interviews from players,
I have a page where I put players on all the time and who they pick. I don't know if you know about that page.
Even the ones he played against.
Right. Okay.
And especially the ones that came after him, they hold him in a very high regard for being the
okay. So you said multiple things, and let me address one at a time. Remember, we're not disputing people pick Mike. I know a lot of people pick Mike. That's not the dispute. But when you analyze it, you don't cherry pick who you want to go by. You go by the majority. And again, I'm repeating myself. There's no evidence that all or most pick Jordan. Now, I can address your other points, but do you want to address that first, or should I get to your other points?
No, on that one right there, for some of the older generation, they're going to go with the names that we mentioned. Typically, those are the three names that we mentioned.
So, wait, are you saying they're biased or they're not reliable? What's your point on that?
My point on that is, I think they like to go with the guy that they're more familiar with.
Okay, so why don't you hold on? Why don't you say the same thing for the ones who picked Jordan?
For the reason that they played against him, but the big issue is guys like Wilt, who was a monster, even Russell. I'm sorry, I didn't mention Russell a bit. My apologies.
No problem.
But and they are legends. They are.
Hold on.
Absolute. Wait. And they are absolute legends. But they're going with the guys that they're familiar with.
I heard that. I asked you, why don't you do the same thing for the Jordan ones?
With Jordan? Yes. With Jordan, his peers are going with the guy that they're familiar with. And the guys that came after him, a lot of these players who never played against him,
they're all brainwashed like you, yeah.
What? Oh, they're brainwashed now?
Yes. What else? If something is not,
they're brainwashed.
No, you know what? You're right. You're right. You know what? You're absolutely right. Even though there's no factual way to prove it, and they're 20 years old and they're not experts, if they're picking Jordan, they must know what they're talking about. They're not brainwashed.
I'm just saying this. There is, players today, they have access to the archives, right? To their franchise archives.
You expect me to believe a 20-year-old guy who comes into the NBA, who's just coming in, making money, who's not an expert, that this man, all of them, are such historians that they know Jordan is number one, and they're reliable. And they're going to be more reliable than the old-timers who came in the NBA. That's what you're telling me.
I didn't say that. No, I didn't say that at all.
I know you didn't say that, but there's no other conclusion. If you're going to say that they're not brainwashed, then that means either they have factual proof or they're experts.
Do you have factual proof that somebody else's name comes up more often than Jordan?
No, but I'm not making claims like you.
But if you don't have a claim against that, then
But you're doing that thing again. It's not. I addressed this part earlier. When someone makes a claim, they have to prove it. You don't tell someone else, "Can you prove to me there's no unicorn on Mars?" That doesn't make any sense. By the way, that works both ways. Do you have a factual proof that everyone picks Jordan or most pick Jordan?
As I told you, I did not.
Okay, so then why would you hold a 20-year-old higher than an old timer?
I'm actually siding with a lot of players who actually watched him play. I'm actually siding with what I saw.
And that is called cherry picking and being selective.
How is it cherry picking when you're talking about watching the game?
I'll tell you why. Because again, and I've said this more than once, there is no evidence that all or most pick Jordan. You're going by who you want to go by. That is being selective.
Even though there is game footage to show what the guy did.
We're going in a circle.
I'm talking about what he actually, day in, day out, what he did on the court.
Okay, so now we're going back to that topic. We've already gone over that.
Did he have his bad games? Absolutely.
No, we're going back to this topic now.
The thing is, why do you disregard the eye test?
Oh, you really don't know the answer to that, man. I've addressed this. Anyone can play a tape. Am I supposed to take your eye test over someone else's?
No. Anybody can play a tape. Then why watch the game to begin with, or are we just looking at box scores?
No, are we watching games just to rank Jordan number one?
Are we just looking at a box score just to say, you know what?
You're not paying attention to what I'm saying. I'm answering your question.
No, I am paying attention to what you're saying. You're disregarding actually watching the game.
No, I'm saying that I'm answering you, and then you keep going on. Listen to what I'm saying. You're saying, why am I ignoring the eye test? How do you know your eye test is factual over someone else's eye test? It doesn't make sense. You like, in other words, you're asking me, hey, why are we watching these games? We're going by the eye test. How do you know your eye test is over the other ones?
Look what he did.
You're not answering my question. You're not answering my question.
I am answering the question.
Here's what you're doing. Let me show you what you're doing. If we were having a debate, what's the best ice cream? And you said, well, what do you mean what's the best ice cream? Let's have a taste test. And then I say, okay, this guy picks chocolate and this guy picks vanilla. Why is your taste higher than the other guy's? And your answer to me is, well, just taste the ice cream. It doesn't make sense.
What you're basically saying is, well, according to this number right here, these people prefer vanilla over chocolate because it's what's on paper. It's not because I tried it or I've seen other people try it. I'm just going by what's on paper.
I'll tell you why that doesn't make sense either.
That's exactly what you're doing.
I'll tell you why that doesn't make sense.
That's exactly what you're doing.
I heard you. I heard you.
We're not talking about ice cream. We're talking about We're talking about aspects of the game as far as how he read the defense, how he played on defense, how he played with the ball, how he played without the ball.
Let me answer your ice cream part. If you and I were having a debate, what's the favorite ice cream? Then those stats matter because the stats show the favorite vanilla ice cream. But when someone starts claiming this is number one and it's based on because I like the way it tastes, that is making things up and going by who you want to go by.
Even though that flavor has won several accolades. Oh, I'm sorry, you don't pay attention to accolades.
Oh, I'm sorry, you rely on anyone's voting.
Well, wouldn't you?
No, you just told me a little while ago the best players don't always win, and you have to sarcastically say to me, oh, I'm sorry, you don't go by accolades. Why would you rely on accolades? It's people voting. It's a popularity contest. Sorry?
So all NBA selections, all defense selections mean nothing?
No, if you're going to elevate one guy over another guy, then it means nothing. If it means something for his career, his status, his accomplishments, it means a lot. But when you go...
But that's what they do from year in, year out. Right, if you're a member of the All-NBA team, that means you're one of the top 10 players in the league compared to everybody who's played that year.
But then when you go, hey, man... Based on my eye test and based on the popularity of voting, this guy's number one over these other guys, that makes no sense. That's making things up.
How does it make no sense when you're actually witnessing the guy play and perform?
And now we're going in a circle. I just addressed the subjective opinion thing.
No. You see what a guy, you see how a guy plays and performs, and you say, okay, so he's obviously one of the best. You see a full game tape of any all-time great. You say, "Oh my God, they actually teared up."
I've addressed the tape part a million times. I don't know if you're not hearing me.
You're trying to. You're basically you're telling me is what you prefer to watch what you see on paper as opposed to actually watching the game.
I don't rank anyone. What are you talking about? I'm not ranking players. I'm not doing that. I'm not saying. I'm not saying no. I'm not saying.
What you're getting at.
Yeah, but I'm not saying.
You don't have to rank anybody. If you're saying that you want to go by what is factual, you need something written. You need something on the document. You need something on a box score to show you something that's on there.
Your question. On
the game.
So
game video.
You're questioning me for wanting facts?
You're taking facts over what's actually on the game.
No, you're elevating. No, you're elevating. No,
as I told you earlier.
Then you don't understand what my issue is. No, my issue is not that you.
As you agreed to it, you said that stats can be manipulated.
Yes, and what I'm questioning is you're elevating your tape over other people's tapes.
Because you're asking for my opinion.
No, I didn't.
And I'm giving you my opinion
it's not an opinion. No, it's not an opinion.
That I have seen.
It's not an opinion. It's a claim. You're making a claim.
You asked me my opinion. Explain to me why I think Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time.
Well, then I'm following up to your opinion. And I'm telling you, you're not making an opinion. You're making a claim. It's not the same thing. An opinion is here. Let me show you what you're doing. How about this? Here's a good example. In my opinion, there may or may not be aliens on Mars. That's an opinion. And a claim is, in my opinion, there are aliens on Mars. That's not an opinion. That's making things up.
You're right. Okay. No, you are right. But if there's footage to show for the public that there are aliens on Mars,
right?
When you're
factual
when
proof
is available to you,
right?
Boom.
Factual proof.
But according to you, video is subjective.
That is so silly what you just did. I know what you did, and that is pathetic what you just did. I'll tell you what you just did. I'm not disputing tape of aliens proof. What I'm disputing is, how do you know your aliens are higher than the other aliens that have tape? Boom.
That's why you watch the games.
Okay.
Not just based on what's on paper.
So we're going in a circle. We're going in a circle.
Yeah. As what you said earlier, stats can be mistaken.
Right, and as I also said earlier,
stats do not tell the whole story.
And as I also said, since you don't want to finish that sentence, if you're going to rank players, the closest thing to reliability is stats and records.
Stats and records as well as accolades. Why would you disregard the accolades?
I've told you, because they're not reliable.
It makes no sense why you would disregard. It makes no sense why you would disregard an accolade when a lot of these players, that's all that they will ever achieve.
No, it's not. Well,
all these players, basically. No, I think that's actually very disrespectful. I think.
Okay, well, then hold on. You know what? I'll tell you what. Instead of me repeating myself and we're going in a circle, let's just do this. Let's say you're right and accolades count. You know what? Let's just go with that. Okay, accolades and awards count, and I'm being disrespectful for not going by them. How do you know who's number one based on accolades and awards? Have you counted all the accolades and all the awards of every legend and put it in some kind of magic formula and said, this guy is number one? No, you have not. So you're being disrespectful when you elevate Jordan and dismiss other players.
I'm not dismissing other players. There are other players that have
when you elevate Jordan number one and you don't put other players on that level, that's dismissing other players. You're elevating Jordan, dismissing other players. In other words,
as far as accolades, if you want to talk about accolades, the closest guy to him
I'm just following up to what you said about accolades and awards. You said I'm disrespecting and I'm not going by that. So now I'm going by your topic. Lots of players have awards and accolades. Lots of them have it.
You're right.
Tons of them. But how do you know Jordan is number one in all that stuff? You don't. You're making things up.
He has the awards and the accolades, as I stated.
I didn't ask you that. I didn't ask you if he has awards and his accolades. How do you know his accolades and his awards is number one over every player who was ever in the NBA? You don't. You're making things up. It's not factual.
If we're talking from an individual trophy perspective, he has a higher from an individual as far as
what are you talking about now? What are you talking about?
A combination of Defensive Player of the Year, MVP,
wait.
Finals MVP.
Yeah, hold on. You didn't even have to tell me all this. You're telling me you've counted all the awards and accolades of every star?
He has the highest.
No, have you counted every? Is this a joke, man? Have you counted every accolade and award for every star?
Put it to you like this.
Okay.
Kareem has. If we're talking about, and I'm not including the All-Star MVP in this count.
Why not?
We're talking about total MVP.
Why not?
It's an exhibition game. It's an exhibition game.
No, but so now you're going to decide what accolades count. Now who's being disrespectful? No, now who's being disrespectful?
Okay. All right, you want me to include MVP?
Actually, no. I don't want you to include anything. I'm just asking you to be consistent. You're cherry picking. You're being selective.
Well, I'm going from regular season games aren't exhibition games. That's why playoff games are not an exhibition game.
No, wait.
All-Star game is an exhibition game.
That's not the point. If you want to sit there and say I'm being disrespectful for not going by awards and accolades, just be consistent. Go by every award and every accolade.
Then by that count right there, Jordan still has the highest.
You have counted every award and every accolade of every star and put it together.
How many MVPs does Kareem have?
That's not the point. Again, back to the Tim Duncan, Jerry West stuff.
No. You're asking. No, you say, how do I know? How many MVPs does Kareem have?
You're not getting what I'm saying. Let me try this again. You've done this before with Tim Duncan and Jerry West. We're not talking about these guys.
No, I'm making the point right here. You're asking me, how do I know?
No,
and I'm letting you know how I know.
But I'm not asking you about Kareem. I'm asking you on every award and every accolade from every star, Jordan has the most and the best.
As far as individual awards?
The answer is no. You're just making things up, man. This is a joke.
Dude, he has 11 MVP awards just between his regular MVP and his finals MVP.
This is pathetic, man. You are making things. Are you a prideful person? Do you not want to admit you're wrong, man?
He's a five-time. He won the MVP in 1988. He won the MVP in 91. Won the MVP in 92. Won the MVP in 94. No. You're asking me, where's my proof? I'm giving you the proof.
No, I'll tell you what you're doing. And I already know what the problem is. You have decided in your mind that you're going by certain awards and certain accolades, and then you're taking a few players that you know, like Kareem and Wilt and Larry Bird, the ones you know, and you're saying, okay, Jordan has more MVPs, and he has more of this one. You know what? I'm going to put it all together and say Jordan is number one. There are tons of awards and accolades like Rookie of the Year, Olympic gold medals, scoring titles, rebounding titles, popularity titles, defensive.
Yeah, you're talking about stuff that he has in spades. Jordan has the 10 scoring title. He has the Rookie of the Year. He has Defensive Player of the Year.
You're not getting what I'm saying. I didn't say Jordan doesn't have those things.
All these different aspects, and guess what? He has all of those.
No, okay, all right. Let me
still only two players.
Let me do what I did earlier.
There's only been two players.
Okay, he has it. Let me do what I did earlier. This is going to work. So you're saying Jordan factually has all the awards and accolades more than any other star, right?
It's up there, absolutely.
Okay. No. Is it up there, or does he have the most?
I'm just talking about regular season, and we can throw in Defensive Player of the Year.
Wait, I thought we established we're going to go by all the awards and all the accolades. Now you're talking about just regular season?
Okay, we're talking All-Star, regular season MVP.
No. We're talking everything. No. We're talking everything.
Rookie of the Year.
No. We're talking everything. Everything, right? You're not disrespectful to other players, are you?
Shoot away.
Okay, so you're saying every award and accolade that an NBA star can have, out of all the stars in the NBA, Jordan has the most, right?
Individual trophies, yes, absolutely.
Okay, so this should be very easy. You should be able to win this right away. Can you please point to me to the factual study that shows this online? Anywhere?
I'm sorry?
Can you please point to me online where it shows Jordan has the most accolades and awards?
Basketball Reference.
I've been to Basketball Reference, man. There's no place on there that shows it. Oh my God, not this again. We're going in a circle. I'm not talking about MVPs.
No. You wanted me to point it to you. I'm giving you the
Then you didn't understand my question. Let me try again. We're not talking about MVPs. We're not talking about All-Star games. We're not talking about Jerry West or Tim Duncan. I'm asking you a specific question. All the awards, all the accolades that a star can have.
Look it up.
Yeah, all the stars that can get in the NBA. Everything. The count total. Jordan has the most. He's number one. You say it's on Reference. There's no place on Reference that shows. I've already checked it. There's nothing there.
Really? So there is no portion where it says Defensive Player of the Year winners.
See, again, you're doing it again. You're still not getting what I'm saying.
You asked for where can you find it? I'm letting you know.
I did not say that. No, I did not say Defensive Player of the Year, MVP, Tim Duncan, or Jerry West.
I'm giving you all of them. Add them all up.
No, there's no.
Add them all up.
I'm telling you, I've done this. I've already done this.
Add them all up.
They don't even have every award on Reference. What are you talking about?
add them all up. They most certainly do.
It's like you're not even paying attention to what I'm saying. You keep saying add them all up.
No, I am
paying
attention to the conversation because you're basically saying that, it's not on there. They have every Defensive Player of the Year winner. They have a listing of every MVP winner. They have a listing of every Finals MVP winner. They have a listing for...
They don't have every accolade and award. And the ones they do have, there's no total that shows Jordan has the most. You're not getting what I'm saying.
You have to tally them up, my dude. You have to actually do the research for them.
I've done the research, and you've never done it.
Have you?
Yes.
Have you?
No, that's...
You didn't even tell me how many MVPs Kareem won.
I'm sorry. Wait, hold on. You have two different questions here. The topic was awards and accolades, and you were again doing your Tim Duncan, Jerry West routine again. I'm not talking about...
No, Tim Duncan. I'm asking you a basic question. You didn't even want to answer that to even show where the...
Okay, so let me make sure... Okay, now watch this. Can you tell me how many points Wilt Chamberlain scored in 1967? No? Okay, so you don't know how many points he has. No, so you don't know. So that means you don't know anything about points. That doesn't make sense what you're doing. What you're saying to me is I have to remember every stinking category.
I'm giving you a reference point. So if you want to check it out after the conversation, you're more than welcome to.
You're not getting what I'm saying. Just because I don't remember...
because you don't want to be proven wrong. You just want to stick to your biased point of view.
If I'm biased, then you're super biased. I don't even pick anyone. You pick Jordan like he's your lover.
Is that what we're doing? I know you are, but what am I? Is that what we're doing?
No. Oh, come on. This is pathetic what you're doing. You're getting owned and you're losing, so now you got to come make up stuff, man.
I'm getting owned? Please,
okay. Right, so anyway, can we go back to mature land? Let's stop with all the stuff now. Let's go back to what I'm saying. You said to me how many MVPs Kareem has. Just because I don't give you a number of his exact MVPs, A, doesn't mean I don't know, and B, it doesn't mean there's no reference of who has a total.
But you can look it up, though. Am I correct?
Of his MVPs, yes, his MVPs, but that's not the dispute. You can do the same for
Jordan's accolades as well.
No, and I've done it, and I'm.
Why can't you not do the same for Jordan's accolades?
I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it again. When you take all the awards and accolades, not only does NBA Reference not list every stinking award and accolade, but the ones they do have, they don't have a grand total like, here it is, folks, Jordan is number one. There's nothing like that.
No, of course there is no actual page to actually show that number. If that's what you're looking for.
All this time, why did it take you so long to tell?
It's not going to have that.
So why did you keep telling me over long, just look it up? It's right there. Look it up. You don't know.
No, I said do the research.
Right. Why don't you do the research?
Well, I was giving you the number, but
you were giving me because in your mind, in your head, you had a criteria that you came up with that these awards and these are the players you're comparing. That I already know that part, how you guys think, but you did not count every accolade and award and then come to the conclusion Jordan has the most. You're just guessing. You don't know that.
So we're talking about accolades. Are you saying a scoring title is an accolade?
To be honest with you, on this one, I don't even know what counts as award, achievement, accolade. I just know these are Jordan terms for all trophies and stuff like that. So it depends on what your definition is.
Well, shouldn't a scoring title be that you led the league as an individual accolade?
Okay, sure. Why not?
For example,
sure. No, I got you. I'm agreeing. No, I'm agreeing. No, you don't have to give me an example. I'm on your side. So let's go with that. Okay. So let me give you something here that I know you probably don't know this either, or you did, but you haven't counted it. Wilt Chamberlain has the most stinking records out of any player in the NBA, and it's not even close. He has over 90.
I'm sorry, you cut off a little bit.
Yeah, Wilt Chamberlain has over 90 records. That is an achievement, accolade, award, trophy, all piled into one. He's got over 90. And that is way more than Jordan. Now, you say absolutely, but you're going to tell me right now why 90 records is not as good as whatever Jordan has.
Well, this is the reason why I have Wilt as my number 3 guy.
Number 3. Did you get that, ladies and gentlemen? 90 records gets you number 3.
90 records gets you number 3, because guess what? 90 records, and most of them are in the regular season.
Yeah, and that's what we're disputing, the best
player. And I will
say
this, and as I said before, as I said earlier, and you heard me say it, greatest regular season scorer of all time.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the best player of all time. There's no way for you to prove Jordan's number 1.
You also have to play in the playoffs, and that's where Wilt
Oh, not
You
this
know,
again. Oh, not this again. Come on, we've gone to the playoffs, man.
To quote his detractors from when he played Will Tidd in the playoffs.
No, but we've gone through this. Why you cannot separate playoffs and regular season like that? You're taking bits and pieces because you're.
No. It's not bits and pieces. This is where you actually have to prove yourself as a player in the team.
All right. Let's do that. I'll do that. That's fine. That's fine. If you're gonna say why not, and you have to go by playoffs, then go by everything in the playoffs. He does not have the. I'm gonna check this out because I didn't even think this was a thing. But I don't think Jordan has the number one numbers of all the playoffs. Actually, I did check that out. It's not true. He does not have the number one statistics in the playoffs.
He has the highest points per game in the playoffs.
Again, back to Tim Duncan and Jerry West's cherry picking time, selective time. I don't know why you always do this. We're talking about everything.
Considering that Jerry West and Tim Duncan both have played well over 100 games in their career.
No, I was being sarcastic because whenever we talk about overall, you always isolate to these random examples, and I'm trying to get you to go by overall. Not just
overall, because the fact that you're calling the playoffs so random that to you before a few minutes ago, you were saying that basically you were treating the playoffs as if they don't matter.
No. What I'm doing is I'm doing two things. You can't mix in regular season and playoffs. If your topic with me was who's the best playoff player, we can have that topic. If you said regular season, we can have that. But you can't mix them together because it's not fair for everyone. It's different. And then even when you
not fair to everyone.
Hold on. But then even if you go by playoffs, even if you want to, check the numbers. Overall, every statistic, Jordan does not have the number one statistics in the playoffs.
You're asking for NBA. You're asking for records, you're asking for records earlier.
Or statistics.
Like you said, Will's had 90.
Now we're going to change it back to that. I thought I just addressed your play. I don't like when you do that, man. You're not the only one. Other Jordan fans do this. I address the point, you go to something else. Come on, stick to this one, can
No. But I'm talking about part of the playoffs right here. Mm-hmm. Jordan, because you mentioned records earlier. Highest points, most points per game in the game.
Man. Can I ask you, does Jordan have the number one statistics in the playoffs? The answer is no, man. You don't have to hesitate.
What are you looking at stats as far as what are you dictating?
I think you asked me this earlier, so let's establish this. Let's establish what the stats are. So the stats are... Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Highest points per game in playoffs for a career.
No, not this again. No, I'm saying stats.
No. You want to talk about records? No, you want to talk about records?
Well, I was talking about stats right now, but if you want to go back to records, we can do that too. What do you know what I mean by stats? Like overall stats? I thought I would assume you did, but maybe you don't. I'll assume you don't. Okay, is that a no?
No, I'm still here. You cut off a little bit.
Do you know what I'm referring to when I say stats, overall stats? I thought you did, but
you're
maybe you
basically
didn't.
Looking at the XYZ stats.
Everything, all the stats, everything. But do you know what I'm referring to?
Rebounds, assists.
Right, steals.
Points,
right. Okay, so you know. Okay, so think of every stat an NBA player can possibly have. You don't honestly believe Jordan is number one in most playoff stats or all playoff stats, do you?
And scoring-wise, he is.
Why do you keep doing that? You keep doing that every time. I don't know why you keep doing that. I'm not asking about scoring.
Overall stats, not the highest in assists, not the highest in rebounds.
The answer is no. He does not have the number one overall stats in the playoffs, man. Why do you have to isolate each thing like this?
To give you a clear answer, he does not have the best overall stats in the playoffs.
Okay.
He does not.
Okay, there you go.
Now,
so why did it take so long? I'm just curious. Why did it take so long for you to admit that?
Here's my rebut to that.
I'd like to know why it took so long for you to admit it, though.
No, here's my rebuttal to that.
Right.
You mentioned about excellent. You there?
Yeah, no, I'm here. Go ahead.
Okay. You mentioned about the basically the number of games played. When you're talking about the guy had played, I think his number is, I'm just going off of memory, over 170 playoff games for his career. He played 13 seasons in the playoffs. That's a long load. At the consistent level that he played in. Granted, toward the end of his playoff run in Chicago, You saw that those field goal numbers were starting to dip a little bit as far as his field goal percentage.
Are you telling me that he had stamina and he was dependable? Or what are you telling me here?
Oh, no, he was just call it for what it is. Dude was 34, 35. Well, actually, when he was 35, he was playing with that injury in his hand. But,
no, I don't understand why you're telling me this. We're talking about if he's a number one overall player. You're telling me he had stamina and he was dependable.
And we're talking about he still was able to deliver when his team needed.
No, why are you telling me this? I don't
You're talking about a guy who had to perform. The guy had to perform at a high level.
No, I don't. I'm asking you. No, I'm asking why are you telling me this? I don't dispute that he had to perform and he was dependable. That he came through. He was the man.
Yeah, he came through as a man. Not many greats can say that they've done that.
Okay, but lots of them can. I said we're going back to this one again.
Lots of them can, but at the high level that he did, like for example, okay.
You don't have to give me an example. I get your point. I'm asking you, how do you know he's number one? I don't understand why you keep doing. I mean, I do understand why you're doing this, but why are you doing this? I want to find out.
For example, guys like Bill Russell toward the end, he was there for basically be a defender, but he was also there for rebounding. But you can see he had.
I don't know. Are you going to downplay Bill Russell winning 11 rings?
No, I'm not downplaying him playing 11 rings. I'm just saying that he wasn't playing at the high level level he did.
And they still won a lot. What difference does it make?
And they still won a lot. Absolutely. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I mean, at the end, his very last ring that he got with the Lakers. You could tell that the stats of time. Okay,
so you know what? So that means Kareem should have retired earlier. He should have retired at 34. That way, younger people in the future like you can say, "Oh, look, everyone, he's the man." Because at 34, he was doing well. He shouldn't keep playing until his 40s.
No, I didn't say that at all.
But you're holding it against him for doing that. The guy.
When you're talking about the greatest players of all time, you're splitting hairs. You're splitting. It's not like I'm trying to compare someone like Rudy Gay to like Magic Johnson.
No, I know that, but look at what you're doing. Look what you're doing. Suppose you played in the NBA and you stayed all the way into your late 30s and 40s. Most people would say, "Wow, that's an admirable thing. He's still in there. He's still the man. He's still dominating." How would you feel if someone in the future who wasn't an expert on the NBA said, "You know what? Look at that guy's stats. He wasn't doing as well in his older years." So, I mean, that's such an insult to you. You ask me that I'm being disrespectful and dismissing. You are dismissing and being disrespectful and rude. What should he have done? Retired earlier so his stats can be better? And then you can say, "Look, he retired earlier. Jordan played longer."
I'm just saying that he wasn't playing at the high level that he was. Jordan was at that point of his career.
What should he have done? Should he have retired earlier?
If he wanted to, no. If he wanted to, he should have.
And if he would have retired early, you know what you guys would have said? Look, Jordan played when he was older. He even came back in his Wizard years. That's the man. He's number one. Because he played when he was older. He's number one. But they do that now. What do you mean not necessarily? Jordan fans do that now where they go, Jordan was still dominating when he was older. They do that now. But when another guy does it, you hold it against him.
Don't. Because I'll put it to you like this. His Wizard years. That was just it. And once again, this is just me talking. This is just me talking right now. I can only speak for myself. I truly believe that was just an ego trip. Because he never got that was just an ego trip based on the fact that he never got the farewell that he felt.
Well, I'm not going to rely on what you think it was. We don't know. Maybe he wanted to come back and have fun. Maybe he wanted stats. Maybe he wanted to prove that he could still play well. Who knows, man?
My opinion, I think it was just more of an ego.
Your claim. Remember, you're not having an opinion. You're just guessing and making up stuff.
My claim is that I think he just came back to show that he could still play, which he could still play.
But your claim is based on nothing. You're just coming up with. You're just making things up, man. I'm sure if Jordan was here right now in front of here, Jordan wouldn't say, "Yeah, this guy's right. I just came back for a trip because I didn't have that farewell tour." I don't think he would agree with that. Do you?
No, but you know something. Once again, that is my claim because of the fact. Let's face it, the '98 season was a disaster behind closed doors for that team. But that's a different topic.
Okay, so far on this topic, man, you have not proven Jordan is number one, and you're not going to. But I'm open-minded if you got something to prove it.
Yeah, because you just disregarded like individual accolades.
And you're doing the same thing for other legends.
He just happens to have more. I'm sorry.
No, you don't have to be sorry. You have to be able to prove it. Oh, you don't have to. You have to prove he has more. There's no
Every time I
proof.
tried to prove something to you, you immediately were talking over me.
All you done is told me go count it. It's on reference. Go count it. I'm not just talking over you. I'm listening to you. And you're talking over me sometimes and ignoring what I'm telling you sometimes. I'm not ignoring you, man. You're ignoring what I'm saying. I'm not ignoring. You're ignoring me, man.
I told you to go to reference. You don't have. You would have to do the. You just have to do the individual lookup.
Can I ask you? I'm going to ask you an honest question. Be honest. Have you done that? Okay. Have you counted them? Don't lie to me. Have you counted them?
If we're talking individual trophies, he's got 14.
No, that's not what I'm asking you. I'm not asking you. See, again, you're not paying attention. Maybe I know I didn't explain it properly, but I thought you knew what I meant. The topic was all accolades and all awards. Have you counted all of them and added them up?
For all of them, no.
Okay.
If we're talking about just strictly awards,
one at a time. If you're acknowledging you have not counted them, that's fine. Nothing. I'm not going to hold it against you on that. What I don't get is, if you know you haven't counted them all, why do you keep telling me as if it's true that they're all totaling Jordan and I should go on there and count it?
Well, I told you that as far as individual awards.
Okay, I don't buy that. No. I have to interrupt you, man.
We were
not talking about that. No, we were not talking about that.
I did talk about awards. You changed it up to accolades. As far as accolades,
this is where I get like, this is ridiculous. I remember what happened. I kept saying to you over and over, all accolades, all awards, every legend. I repeated myself over and over, and now you're telling me we were talking about something else.
Yeah, as I said it for the individual awards, I did. Now, for the accolades, like all NBA.
Wait. Okay, so you did. So why did you do that? If you have not counted every accolade and every award for every star, why did you keep telling me it's true Jordan has the most and I should go on there and reference it?
I said no. If you listen to me, I was saying individual awards.
Okay, but then you're not listening to me. I kept repeating myself over and over, all accolades, all awards. That was our debate, that all the accolades and awards from every star totaling together, you kept making it seem like Jordan is number one. I don't know why you're disputing that now. Okay, all right, well, I'll make it easy for you. Oh, go ahead.
Well, like I said, just as far as the individual awards were counted.
Okay, all right. Why are we counting individual awards? I thought you told me I'm being disrespectful for not counting awards and accolades, and I told you, let's go by all the awards and accolades. Are we not talking about all the awards and accolades? It's possible maybe we had a misunderstanding. Maybe we had a misunderstanding, but I doubt it.
This possible there was a miscommunication there.
Okay.
Somewhere.
Okay, no problem. Let's go back to that now. Let's go back. So you think I'm being disrespectful for not counting awards and accolades. Okay, I'm going to go with that. Even though I think that's silly, let's go with that. Every award and every accolade that an NBA player can get. Now, every star in the NBA, does Jordan have the most and the best ones?
That I don't have the information.
Okay, so if you acknowledge that you don't have the information, that's fine. I'm not going to hold it against you. Then that means it's possible Jordan does not have the most or the best. So if he does not have the most,
and it's also possible that he may have it. So are you open to that interpretation as well?
No, because I've already. Well, first of all,
why not?
I'll tell you why. Because you have to first establish what awards and accolades are we going to go by, and that is called being selective to whatever you want to go by. So one guy will say, I'm going to go by MVPs, Rookie of the Year, and leadership on stats. Another guy goes, no, I'm going to go by Olympic medals too. Another guy will go, I'm going to go by sportsmanship. And there's so many out there. It's just who counts what counts. And then you have to count it for every legend. And then you have to acknowledge some legends didn't have some awards and have some accolades. And then you have to add them all up, and then you have to determine Michael Jordan is number one. It's just a random making up silly thing, man.
So if there is an agreed upon criteria,
which there won't be.
You're saying there won't be, but once again, hypothetically speaking.
All right, I'll go with this.
And hypothetically speaking,
okay.
And he did come out to be on top, we'll say, by like a hair or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Would your opinion change?
Okay, let me make sure I understand the question. So we're going to agree on what awards and accolades account, right?
All
Okay.
hypothetical.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. We're going to agree with them. And then we're going to agree to count them for every legend that was ever in the NBA, right?
Yeah, if you were to tally up
I got you. No, I got you. I got you. And then
all-time players, yeah.
yeah. And then what do we do for the players who didn't have certain awards and achievements?
Well, the players that didn't have certain awards or achievements, unfortunately, they wouldn't make.
So now who's
won't
being
make the cut.
so now who's being disrespectful and dismissing them?
It's not being disrespectful or dismissive. It's just if we're.
Let's find out. Let's find out. Let's find out. Imagine you played in the NBA, and you played in the NBA. You sweated and put your blood and guts, and you tried to ball and show everyone, hey, I can ball, everyone. And then decades and decades later, some young people who wasn't around for you, who didn't watch that much tape of you, who don't really know you, said, you know what? I'm going to count these awards and accolades, but I'm not going to count that player. I'm sorry, he doesn't make the cut then. How would you feel?
If I'm in the Hall of Fame, why should I care how they
Come
feel?
on. Don't dodge like that. Come on. You know what I'm asking you. Come on.
If I'm a former NBA, if I'm a retired NBA player,
that's not the point.
If I have my individual,
that's not the point.
Why would I care?
No, the point is you're being disrespected or you're being dismissed. It's one of those two or both. And you're going to tell me you wouldn't care? Everyone cares to different levels. Some people care less. Some people care more. But if something like that,
I'll put it to you like this.
if something like that happened.
No. If I'm being slighted as far as while I'm still playing, like, okay, you're a great player, but you didn't make all defense or something like that. Yeah, you know something? I am going to feel slighted.
Okay, so there you go. So my point is to you, when you tell me, I'm sorry, they don't make the cut, that is disrespectful and dismissing stars. And don't tell me, by the way, you wouldn't care, because if as a fan you care so much about Jordan being number one, I can only imagine what would happen if you were actually a player in the NBA and they were some guy in the future dismissing you and disrespecting you.
Well, I'll put it to you like this. Would you want to keep those players ranked as far as they're notated on the list? As far as, once again, this is all hypothetical. The players who didn't have as many and didn't have as many accolades as player A had way more accolades than player B, then I'm sorry, player B, you just, it's competition.
Isn't there? No, it's not. It's only a competition for you because you want to rank Jordan number one. It's not competition for me. I respect all the players.
But they play in a league that's made of competition.
Yeah, but we're not talking about them playing against each other. We're talking about fans.
No,
coming
we're
up
not
with
talking
random...
about that. We're talking about what they did on the court, what they achieved.
No, we're not. No, we're not. Because if we were doing that,
if we're talking about accolades,
I'll tell you what.
Absolutely.
If we're doing that, then we would go by literally what they did on the court. Accolades and achievements are not exactly always what they do on the court. And even if you disagree, a lot of them are voted. The best players don't always win MVP. The best players don't always win finals MVP. The best players don't always go to the All-Star game. It's a popularity contest. Some people are dumb. Some people are biased. Some people feel pressure. Oh, if I don't vote for this guy, the media's going to call me out. Some people want brownie points to get interviews with the players. Some people make up their own criteria. I'm going to go by points, rebounds, assists, while another guy goes by minutes played, games played, triple doubles, a leadership for impact of a player, a team. Then some people go, this guy played on a team that wasn't good. This guy played on a winning team. Some people go, I don't like that guy, but I like this guy. It's just so many things to consider. It's just silly, man. But you guys, you Jordan fans, but you Jordan fans act like it's factual and reliable.
But here's the thing: his name does pop up on every bit of criteria you mentioned. His name is the one that pops up.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Oh, you're talking about you just finished something off right now. His name does pop up. Individual accolades.
No, what did I do? I cut you off?
On scoring statistics, impact on team, all the things that you mentioned.
What are you talking about? I don't understand what you said. You said his name packs up on impact of team. Lots of players pop up on impact on team. Scoring, lots of players pop up on scoring. What are you talking about, man?
Absolutely. Here's the thing, though. As far as impact on team, he made the Chicago Bulls.
And what do you think? I don't see. This is like what do you think other legends do for their teams? They don't make their team.
The Bulls were averaging 8,000 people a game. The Bulls were averaging 8,000 fans a game.
Okay, you're talking about, see, this is so silly. You're talking about a popularity contest. So whoever gets the most fans. Okay, so the Detroit Pistons were the most, Isaiah Thomas is one of the most best players ever because that Detroit arena filled up probably the most. I think San Antonio had a big arena too. Well, David Robinson is one of the best players. This is silly. What is this?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They filled up the stadium because the Pistons, they needed to get a winner. They got Isaiah Thomas, who helped galvanize that team.
That's not the point. You didn't get my point. So by your logic,
it's a factor
but you can't,
that generated for the team.
Right,
you're talking about impact on team. You're talking about leadership on the court. You're talking about statistics. You're talking about accolades.
I don't understand.
His name keeps popping up.
I don't understand. People come to a game with more seats in a building, therefore the player is higher than another player. What is that? That makes no sense, man.
I'll put it in. We're talking about impact on the team.
When you said impact, I thought you meant like when a guy plays basketball, he's helping his team win. You're talking about like silly things on the outside, people coming in. If one arena has more seats, therefore that star is better than another star?
He was helping his team win. They were a lottery team. They missed the play. His team missed the lottery.
And lots of stars miss the playoffs, and then they come in and help the team win.
Absolutely.
You say absolutely a lot, but then you elevate Jordan. I don't understand that.
They went to the playoffs every year he was on that team.
And lots of players go to the playoffs every year they're on the team.
And he won almost half the time he played for that team.
So every time I get you on something, you go to something else. How many times are you going to do that?
Not really. You haven't got me at all, sir.
I haven't gotten you at all? Not even once?
No, not at all, sir.
If I were you, I'd be really careful what I say because people play this back. They're going to question like how smart you are, how fair you are if you do that stuff, man. You really believe I haven't gotten you even once?
Not at all, sir.
Let me ask you this just for fun. Oh, and I hope you give me the juicy answer. I really want this for entertainment. Do you think you have proven Jordan as number one?
Not to you because you already have a set minority in place. So to change your mind is not at all.
Do you think you have proven Jordan as number one, factually?
Factually?
Yes.
Oh. Absolutely, when you factor in every kind of his game.
Okay, this is amazing. Honestly, man. And you wonder why I think Jordan fans are brainwashed and in love with this guy? You don't get it? You really don't know that?
No, I love the fact. Why else do you think I came on this program?
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Oh, I just came on this program to fuck with you, dude.
No, not this. Let's not do this. Now you're going to act like you were just joking around and messing around and it was just a goof and you weren't being serious?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, this is the Brit Sports Network, dude. From BritSportNetwork.com.
What about it? I've emailed him. He doesn't want to go on. No, he hung up. Not again. Why do these Jordan fans get scared like that? Now, maybe something happened with his phone. Hey, please subscribe, and if you disagree with me on something, you can go on my program and show me your facts on whatever you disagree on. If you want to go on, let's set it up. Send me an email. The email is right there in the description section. Thank you.